this and all that, but you can't infringe in religion, right? Why is it that the government forcing Christians to marry homosexuals in churches?
The government is not for dude. Hey, no. Hey, no. I gave you ample opportunity right there, and you just going on and on and on for different things without dealing with each individual point, and you just want to make that statement and go. But actually, when you go online, you have one organization that only talks about Christian persecution that mentions the things about Christianity being persecuted, being persecuted in China. Now, the thing about it is that all they talk about is that Christians, churches have been raided or been shut down, and these are usually house churches. What they do not tell you is that they were illegally set up churches. So they are trying to get the emotional impact without telling you the truth. And the truth is, you can go to China and set up a Christian church. You just got to make a pledge to not talk bad about the government. The churches that they raid.
So man, it's not even that. You don't even understand what's going on. You just talking.
And then you sitting up. I'm just talking, bruh. You making up. Where you talk about people or the government is forcing Christians to marry homosexuals. And so what you're saying is that the government is forcing ministers to marry homosexuals, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I want to go back to China. I'm not done with China.
Oh, now you want to go back to China? Go back to China then.
I'm thinking I want to have you understand that Christians are being persecuted everywhere, including China. I want you to get that straight first before we go on to here. Okay, so you know this already, right? That you just said that, okay, well, you need a permit and all that, but you just can't talk about this, you just can't talk about that. No, it's a matter of fact, man, that the Christian church are being shut. Okay, I'll give you one better. The president of China, right? He was trying to rewrite, I think he did it already. He was trying to rewrite the Bible. Why the Bible?
It's been rewritten plenty of times.
Sir, it's not been rewritten plenty of time, been translated.
No.
From different languages to whatever language you speak of.
You do know they rewrote the Bible in order to convince the Panari people in order to convert over to Christianity.
Right. But the Bible said not to do that. But China. All right, man. See, he doesn't want to hear facts.
So are you going to? Because I made a whole statement and you kept trying to talk during the whole statement.
You already, man.
No, you've done nothing of the sort.
Okay. So
do you know who the? Stop talking. Do you know who the Panari people are?
It doesn't matter, man.
Oh, it don't matter because the Christians went to the Panari people and rewrote the Bible in order to convince them to become Christian. You cool with that?
What are you talking about that at? What's
the
that?
Panari people in Venezuela.
In Venezuela, okay, cool. So they're not real Christians because the Bible said not to do that. Simple. Okay, now the president of China, right? The president of China, right? Our Bible, God said, do not change the words in the Bible. What does the president of China do? He changes the words in the Bible.
So what? What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
So we gotta go back and forth, man. Just go online.
Okay, I'm online. Most persecuted group in China, right? Are the Uyghurs, I can't even say it, Uyghurs, and other Muslims. So these are both Muslim groups. This is the most persecuted group in China. Then the second most persecuted is Tibetan Buddhists. Then the third most persecuted is Falun Gong, is the third most. And then it is Christians, and it says a crackdown on unregistered churches.
Right.
And then it talks about the ones who are violating their pledge to not criticize the government. So Christianity is fourth most persecuted in China.
Where did you get that source from? Where'd you get that source from?
Oh, now where'd you get that source from? Where'd you get that source from?
Yeah.
Where'd you get that source from? It's amazing. It's amazing when something is from the U.S. Department of State is one of the sources.
Department of State.
Oh yeah, the U.S. Department of State. It's government now, so you can't believe anything the government say.
Right.
Government said it.
Okay, but guess what?
But
you can't take away. Okay, listen, man.
it's also comes. Hold on. It also comes from Pew Research Center. It also comes from the Commission on International Relations. So,
all right, cool. All right.
So all are saying the same damn thing.
With all that being said, right, the president of China still chose the Bible to change.
Oh my God. That doesn't mean anything. I don't mean that.
Right. But out of all the religion, right, the Christianity is the most threatened.
Bullshit. And
okay.
and what's your now hold on. What's your source? What's your source that China tried to change the government, try to change the Bible? What's your source?
So the president, so the president tried to, okay, so go on there and say President China changing the Bible. Yeah, man.
No, but what's your source?
I just told you. Just type it in.
What's your source?
The internet.
The internet. So I tell you my source, and it's supposed to be I don't know.
Sir, you gotta listen, man. I'm gonna mention the 4 people the 4 groups that you mentioned, but you still can't get away from the fact that the president still chose the Bible to distort.
That don't mean that is you putting emphasis on that as if it. Dude, stop. That is you putting emphasis on that because it's important to you. You are obviously emotional about it. And so, of course, you're going to put more precedence on it. But to me, that means absolutely nothing. I could care less if he's trying to change the Bible. Because at the same time, a Buddhist can be saying that, no, what's more important and what's more indicative of what the president of China is trying to do is that they have already said that the next Dalai Lama will not be Tibetan, that he will be Chinese, and they will have a Chinese Dalai Lama. And that actually is a bigger issue than changing the Bible. So you see how somebody, based on their side of the fence, makes something more important. Because the Tibetan Buddhists wouldn't give 2 shits about changing the Bible, but they do care about the next Dalai Lama being Chinese instead of them going through their process.
All right. So that worldview is immoral. Okay. And I just told you the president of China, and I'm going to stick on that. The president of China still chose the Bible, whether you want to paint it any other way, he still chose that book.
I don't go in circles, and especially going in circles with somebody who says that if you don't believe in your God, then people who believe in Buddhism are immoral. People who believe in Hinduism is immoral. That's just dumb. Sorry. I wanted to phrase it differently, but that's just dumb to say that. And that just shows you have the inability to truly think, and that you are severely brainwashed when you can only see things through this very focused lens of Christianity. I mean, you can't even see the world as it is, and then you sit up there and be like, "Oh, but how you doing?
Hey, how you doing today, bro?
How you doing, Bobby?
All right. Hey, he did more than prove that. The guy you was just talking to, he just proved how Christianity is the most judgmental people on this planet. He just proves it.
Indeed.
You know, he act like that nothing exists before Christianity. And then the sad part about it, you can go read on Constantine how Christianity went taking over the world. And they started more wars between religion. They started more wars than anything. I don't have much to say. I'm just listening. My bros off the chain. You know, if I was in China too, I'd throw that damn Bible out of China too. If I was in China, yeah, get rid of this.
Yeah, I mean, but the fact of the matter is, China allows for Christianity to be in China, and Christianity is growing in China. They just say that you're not going to talk bad about our government.
Right.
That's all. That is all that they say. That your churches can be, we're going to surveil your churches. And unlike how in America, politicians can go in there and talk shit about the government, in China, they're like, nah, we ain't doing that. You won't talk just about this bullshit that y'all doing right now. Yeah.
And my last question, because it seems like a lot of melanated people is going through an identity crisis right now. I guess with all the information, we picking and choosing which group we want to be a part of. Like
Mhm.
I was on a post yesterday, and this lady said she would never be nothing more than an African American. And when she went to talk about the name Da Vinci or whatever, I was like, wow, he ain't. I say America was called Timeri, and they went crazy. They was like, America was never called Timera, and they got a whole platform pushing us accepting being called the African American.
Okay,
Would that be the
you know I'm gonna
would
disagree with you on that, Bobby. But you're muffled. You're muffled a bit, but I'm gonna disagree with you on that one.
Right. Okay, that's what I wanted to ask you. What are we? Should we consider ourselves African American?
No, the first thing we should consider ourselves is American, period. But not American in the sense of um, your ancestors were all indigenous to America, because for most people of color in America who look like us, who ancestors went through slavery, let me put it that way. For most of us who ancestors went through the transatlantic slave trade, the majority of your genome is from Africa. You may have indigenous genome, DNA, but not all of us and not most of us have indigenous. We would have more European, more of us have more European DNA than we got indigenous DNA. And so these people out here like Dane Calloway, who've been pushing the "we are already here" storyline, is ridiculous to me, because it is dishonorable to what your African ancestors suffered through, what they endured, so that you can be here, right? And everybody goes through time frames of slavery where their group was enslaved and their group was oppressed. But it's like people are embarrassed to be attached to that.
No, what it is what it is, and a lot of us is just trying to find out the facts.
But most people are making these statements and they have not done any research on their family. You know what I mean? Like,
so you don't think America was called Timeri before America?
no, because America was not unified. Different tribes called it different names.
Turtle Island, Timeri.
That's just different tribes who called it different names. So it's kind of like you had one little group of people in Africa who called it a Kibulan. But one little group, and now everybody think that everybody in Africa called it a Kibulan. No, they didn't.
Right.
The Europe wasn't, when during the time frame of Rome, it wasn't called Europe. There were certain areas called of Europa, but the whole thing wasn't Europe. The British Islands wasn't part of Europe. You see what I'm saying? So no, you had different the people like the Seminoles and the Creek. They didn't call it Timeria.
Mm-hmm. So that's more of a Moor thing, a Moorish thing, or
pretty much. And the Moors try to claim everybody. It could be everything. Anything great that ever happened in the world, Moors claim it.
It's like I prayed in about probably 10 years. Do you pray or submit to anything?
Mm-mm.
Me neither, but I'm just
I meditate deeply within myself. It's about it.
I was just
Yeah.
because once I started studying and learned that I am responsible for my own happiness and everything, like we discussed this before, I stopped praying. I say it's up to me to learn myself more and figure out how to overcome the things that's holding me back myself. Now I might even go ask somebody else some advice about it. Like I might know I need to exercise more. You know what you need more than anybody on this planet. You know you need to eat better. You know you need to exercise, and things like that.
That's about it. Right. So I don't pray. Prayer has no certain purpose. Actually, after I finish this live today, there's a video I'm going to do about prayer anyway.
Yeah, where it's begging yourself for something. Oh, no.
Something like that. You got to wait for it. It'll drop later on the day around 6, 7 o'clock this evening. You gotta wait for it.
But that was crazy when the other guy was talking about. I say Hinduism and Buddhism is older than Islam and Christianity. How could theirs be a lie but yours be so much of the truth?
Well, they would claim that theirs was the original religion, and then when the people from the Tower of Babel separated and went their separate ways, that's when all these other religions truly happened. But we know the time frame of the Tower of Babel, so that doesn't work. We know the time frame of the flood, so it still doesn't work. We even know the time frame of the Adam and Eve story, so it still doesn't work. But their belief system makes them think that those time frames don't matter, but yet those time frames do matter, but yet those time frames don't matter. We were the original. And then they'll go, or they're going to, those were just demons that had fallen in the war against God, and they started people believing that stuff. Yeah, so.
Like I had never heard about the goddess of Set or Osiris or Sar. I didn't hear about that. I'm 59. I didn't hear about that till I was like 46. So when I started researching, I'm like, wow. So a lot of people, unfamiliar information, they do not like it. You know, when they hear something new, or like when they hear that Haru story is similar, and they just don't accept unfamiliar information. And I don't learn to accept it and move on. People don't want to hear nothing outside of their religion, because it's hard to get somebody to switch from Islam that's been praying and hitting their head on the ground for 50 years, or it's hard to get them to see other things that exist before their religion.
Because then they have to call their religion into question. They don't want to do that. So that's why that's not even my angle. It's not even my goal. I care less. Stay in your religion. But you want to be stupid, stay in your religion. But if you're committing crimes, then you need to find you a new religion. You hurting people, you need to find you something different. Which is why we was talking about sins and morals. So do you think that sins and morals are the same?
No. Sins, morals are something that is installed in you, or you learn over a period of time, cover your mouth when you cough and things like that. Sins is something that someone might have created just to control you and take away your creativity.
Yeah.
Because they'll tell you it's a sin to question God.
Exactly. They do. But let me get some other people up here.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you, brother.
You too.
All right, let's see who's still in the queue. I don't know why that dude came back into the queue, man. I'm not bringing you back up here so you can just make shit up, your immoral ass. How can you have more faith in cheer than you sitting? Oh, chair. Because I'm sitting in it, so it's factual. Itchy. Oh, I think that was accidental, because that is, I think we're in their pocket. That might have been accidental. Must be in the pocket. You see, how can you have more faith in the chair that you're sitting in than the high power? Because I'm sitting in the chair. I've sat in this chair multiple times. The chair has never failed me every time I sit in the chair. So it's factual that the chair is going to support my weight. There is no high power for me to believe in that has demonstrated itself. So that's how. Chino. So welcome, Ricardo. Are you over 21, and are you a believer in the Bible?
I'm 66, so yes.
Okay.
I just have one thing to say about your whole question. Even God knew man is messy because of the simple fact he said man has free will.
When did he say that?
All those religions forget that even God said man has free will.
When did God say that man has free will?
In the beginning.
When? Where?
I'm not a church man, so don't try to play no games with me.
I'm just you're making a statement, so you have to be able to demonstrate the evidence of that statement. Where does your Bible suggest that men? Where does it say people have free will?
Read it, so I don't want to hear about it.
You don't read it?
I know I don't. I told you I don't sit in churches. I practice Muslim religion for 7 years. I've been in various organizations. That is not my thing.
Well, I asked you, did you believe in the Jesus, the Bible, the God of the Bible? And you said yes. Or maybe you, maybe you didn't hear that question. So, do you believe in the God of the Bible?
Questionable.
Okay, so what God do you believe in?
I didn't say I did.
Do you believe in a God?
At this point in my life, I got lots of questions about it.
But you are saying, but you're making the statement that God gives you free will as if you believe in that God, in a God.
You heard what I said. I'm not going to change my mind. I've been through too many traumas, way too young. The last one is I'm paralyzed on my side now.
Okay, so then I don't, I mean, I care, but for this sake of this conversation, I don't care.
Okay, so then drop me.
But yeah, I will. That's not a problem. Because that made no damn sense to me. Why did you even bother? Exactly. Thank you, Beth. Why did you even bother come up? Ain't got nothing to do with nothing. We just sitting there like, I feel that you're paralyzed. It ain't had shit to do with nothing. Ike, are you over 21 and are you a believer in the Bible?
Yeah, 55.
85.
I used to believe in the Bible. I don't believe anything they said. And when they say God said this or God never said Jack. Men wrote their stories. People took their folklore and converted it into stuff and compelled others to believe in it. You know, people were compelled to believe in religion the way we have received it. Nobody, even the Bible says, no man have seen God at any time. No one have seen him. No man have talked to God. Hey, nobody has. There's never, even when the other guy, when I was teaching to come up, was when the other guy was saying that every other religion is immoral. You know, the arrogance is just. He probably works in a business that is not government owned because he's going to work today and there's a government shutdown. So the business may probably be owned by a non-Christian. Mm-hmm. And he's not dependent on the Bible to save him if his rights are infringed upon. He's dependent on the laws of the country, the laws of the land. He's not dependent.
Wait a minute, hold on. Wait a minute. Sorry, my phone.
He's not dependent on any Christian dogma to save him at work. He's dependent on the Constitution of the United States of America. If the Bible is so powerful, the Bible should save him in his workplace. If his rights are infringed upon at work, he should open Jeremiah chapter 1 and read it to the boss and let the angels, that talk to Balaam and his ass, let them just come down and start waging war. He said, there are 1 million angels around you that you can't see. Let him bring those 1 million angels to fight for him at work. Christians come. I used to be, when I hear them and I go on criticizing them, sometimes I stop and say, oh, you used to be like that. You used to believe this. I used to believe that a donkey spoke in human language and just spoke for several minutes, trying to convince, looking back now, and I said, I believed that this guy walked on water. I believe he took a loaf and 5 fishes and fed 5,000 people, not even 5 people, 5,000 men.
Yeah.
And there were over 20 baskets full left. All those rubbish that Christianity, other religion does that too. But morality, like you have morality has nothing to do with religion. It's just like an unspoken code. You're born and raised understanding this is not fair. You know what is fair and what is not fair.
Right.
People that don't have religion or people that don't have Christianity didn't need to read the Bible to know that it's not good, it's immoral to unalive somebody. And people make their laws, their constitution are not based on the Bible. Chinese constitution is not based on the Bible, yet they abhor a lot of these things. It's the same way other places. And by the way, when did Christianity even start? It started somewhere in Rome. And they already had other philosophy that predates Christianity.
Yep.
There were other ways of life. You know, there were ways people, you know, there were laws, you know, culture. You know, your culture shows what is acceptable by the society and what's not acceptable by the society. And a lot of the rules are made by man, and we don't know this is wrong. And the other ones, you know, you just know it because the way human being is, I don't know, you know, we have this gyroscope, you know, kind of an internal gyroscope that allows us to balance things out. You know, you just like, you know, in your mind. And another thing I started thinking about lately, you know, sometimes say, oh, my mind is telling me this. You know, lately I've come to look at the mind. What you call my mind, your mind. It's not really something that belongs to you. Hear me out. It's just like saying my internet is shaky. The internet doesn't belong to you. What you paid for is subscription to the net. So the mind is a subscription to the mind is the internet of the universe. The brain is able to, because if Bill Gates stays on the internet for 1 hour and I stay for 1 hour, we're going to get different things. He's going to probably get something he's going to use to, you know, do something marvelous, and I'm going to get. But so your access to the internet, you logging into the net, what you're going to bring out is different from somebody that is probably not educated and everything will bring out from the net. So the same way with our mind, the brain is able to scrub the internet of the universe and download things they can use. And it all depends on how much your level of thought, your level of thinking, your level of knowledge, what you're able to download from the internet of the universe is determined by how much level of awareness you have. So the mind, to me, the way I look at our mind now, I look at it as the internet of the universe. And we log onto it, our brain has the modem that assists us to log in. And data are flying around the universe. And, you know, there's something that you can write, say, no, this is not what I was thinking. This is not what I was thinking. Because your brain is scrubbing the net and picking up data from the internet. And when I start thinking like this, I know this is not like God whispering. No, it's just the way the universe is. The universe, if there's God, is the universe. The universe is God, and data are being dropped like, you know, just like data is all over the internet, and you're able to pick what you can process based on your level of knowledge. You're able to pick up what you can handle. Your brain is the processor, just like your phone has a processor, your computer has a processor. Your brain is going to process this data, but it's going to process what it has been trained to handle. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Hey, before you go, I just had a thought, and another person on YouTube had the same thought. You just created a whole new religion, my man. You just created a Gnostic metaphysical religion right there. You can probably make some money off that one.
You know, I actually wrote, I'm going to send you what I sat down, thought through, then wrote kind of an essay on it. I'm like, you know, my mind is, I call it mind because that's the way I can personalize it. Yeah. But the mind is like the internet. It's not like, oh, my mind. That's why I say, oh man, it just ran out. It just escaped my mind. It just came into my mind right now. Yeah. Because it's your processor. Your brain is able to scrub the net, get information from and process it into something you can handle. And sometimes if you don't get the knowledge very well, it just escapes your mind. And sometimes, you know, people can have a brainwave. I'm here having the same thought, and somebody thousands of miles away is having exactly the same thoughts that they say is a brainwave. It's because the knowledge, the information is out there on the internet of the mind, and people scrub it together and we make use of it. And you know, wow, wow, you took that out of my mind. You just took it out of my mind. How is it possible? We are scrubbing stuff in the same internet. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Me and Ike gonna start the religion of the spatial mind or some shit. What up, Obi?
What's up, Lorenzo?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, bro. Hey, that was that's really what happened. That's a new religion just created on the spot.
Hmm. It
A lot of
was.
people,
It was.
yeah, a lot of people don't really even sometimes they don't even understand that. I was telling somebody this over the weekend, like because people I don't really talk too much about my beliefs and stuff like that because I know mines are pretty far off from what the average person that's in an Abrahamic religion and stuff like that. They just so stuck in it. But I tell people just to kind of cut the conversation short. I'd be like, "Hey, I practice obiism because even if you call yourself a Christian, I'm pretty sure you're not practicing." Christianity at its its pure form of how it's supposed to be practiced. You just practicing your own version, and because you're mixing. You look at the other caller. He added his own his own flavor and spices and ingredients to a concept that's already for you to follow in a book. People in this day and age can't really, not that they can't, but it's hard, especially like if you're in the Western world, if you're in America, to practice the religion pure by the book. I don't really know any Christians that do it. You know what I
And
mean?
none. There's not one Christian that practice Christianity by the book because you can't. Because you have to be able to settle some of the contradictions, and some of those contradictions can't be settled. You just have to pick a side, right? You just have to say,
Yes.
I'm not going to keep the law, or I'm going to keep the law, or I'm going to keep these laws, but I'm not going to keep those laws. You have to pick and choose which laws you're going to keep. And because you can't really identify what, because you can support either side by some text, it's not going to work for you. Because Paul tells you not to keep the law, Jesus tells you to keep the law. Which one you going to follow?
Hey, that's a good that's a good point.
And
That's a
Jesus,
good.
and think about it, Jesus said that to love the Father. Well, loving the Father is by keeping the law. All the laws are the whole 613 laws. And then the second law would be to love your neighbor as you love yourself. But he's only talking about fellow people of your ethnicity. So he's not even talking about people outside your ethnicity.
Yes,
And
yes,
so what you
and
gonna
I
do? You gonna
and
you
you
gonna sacrifice some goats? You gonna keep the festival of weeks?
ain't nobody doing that. Ain't
No.
ain't nobody. And I don't want to go too far off of the topic, but during like when I was going through my experience, as far as like I didn't know I was deconstructing, but I was just more so trying to find a connection. But I was in the religion, so I was trying to find in my own way. But I caught myself. I was trying to go back to try to try to practice some of these older traditions from the I guess from Judaism, from like what Israelites were supposed to do in these festivals and stuff. And I was trying to like it was more so with the Passover, and it was around that time, and then I was I don't know, something just, I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't really know how this happened, but something just came to me to where I started to question, like, where does this whole stuff about bread and all this stuff, where does it come from in connection to like an African? This has nothing to do with our culture. It where is this is from that region, that Middle Eastern region. What is the connection? And then when I found out about the actual cultural traditions from that area, and then that kind of, let the light bulb go off my head that, it's just like the culture. I like to call the religion as the culture deified, because it's like, and we can do that here in America. Like, if we have things that are beliefs and traditions that are very strong in our culture, you can deify that with a story and make it spiritual if you want to have a connection with it. You know what I'm saying? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, we can see the history of America has done that. The culture of America said that slavery was okay, so it was deified and supported in the Bible. But then, as more and more abolitionist mindsets grew in America, and then slavery was not okay, then the culture reversed the deification of slavery by their God into a different mindset of it. But yet they still held on to Jim Crow laws. But then, as the culture changed from Jim Crow laws, they reestablished and redid the religion as well to remake it to fit the Bible. So every time people want to do that, every time people change their moral stance on something, they will find a godly, divine reason for it, or just create their own brand new God.
Hmm.
One or the other.
And that's why I wonder why in this world, in this time, like all these years, I'm not really a big historian, so I can't really. No, don't, not to say I'm not researched on it, but I don't store the information in my head like off the top. I always got to go back and reference, but I know you know a lot about this stuff just off the top. Um, why? Because Bible and Jesus was created how many years ago?
Jesus,
Yeah.
I mean, roughly 2,000 years ago.
So how come in 2,000 years a new deity from this part of the world has not been created? Why? Because we're all the times that we're in is so far off from. There are no Bible prophecies about this stuff that we're living. There's no Bible prophecies about COVID, about pandemics, financial. There's no financial prophecies for this. So what was the reason that because it seems like deities were created in them times when whoever was in power felt like they needed to create one, or whatever. The cultures created their deities. They break
Mhm.
away. They, like Christians, broke away from Jews, created their a deity was created. You know, I don't understand why, especially like in America, like and black people, us, I don't think there's no reason to hold on to a Jesus. If you want to be spiritual, you can create a deity for the time that you live in, the situation that you're living in. That.
Well, that's generally how it works. So when you look at most of the creation of these deities, uh, they usually the prophecies for each deity is supposed to happen within the lifetime of those people who created them, or maybe within a generation or two at most. Is when most of these prophecies that deal with the new identification of whoever is being deified is supposed to happen. Now, what keeps them alive is the governments of each time frame. If the government, if the people who believe in these deities starts to take over government, and then the growth, and that allows for the religion to grow, because then they don't get they're not looked upon as cults anymore, but now they're formalized as religion. And so, for instance, with the Christianity, as Christianity was able to get a foothold within Rome, then that allowed for it to become part of government. Once it became part of government, now they can force people into this religion, which is exactly what they did. Once that force through military action happened, and then that just became the way. And that's the only reason we still have Christianity to this day, force through military action.
But our government doesn't force religion. Oh, well, when I'm talking about United States, government don't force religion on people anymore. Like
Yeah.
force. You have
Okay.
freedom to practice whatever you want.
You do, but it's been so ingrained into colonial America. So when America first started, America did force Christianity into the indigenous people and into the enslaved people.
Yes, I
So,
know that. Yeah.
and then the secondary part of it is that Christianity had become such a solidified religion that then the pressure of ostracizing comes into play. And they were still being supported by European Christianity. So when they forced the five civilized tribes, so-called five civilized tribes, to become Christian, that was a force. When they manifest destiny, that was a force. Become Christian, or we're going to kill you, but we still want your land. So it was forced at the earlier stages, so that by the time we get to our time, it's just a part of the society, right? But because it's stopped being forced through violence, you are seeing the growth of multiple other religions within America, which is why they're crying now about we got to get back to our Christian values and all that sort of thing. Because
Oh, okay.
when you do give people that freedom and you protect that freedom, then people will start to view things differently than what you are telling them to do.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, I understand where you're coming from. So, I get you. So, going to the topic though, with the sin and morality, like, you hit it on the head. I agree with like those are my views as well. Morality comes from, culture,
Mhm.
whatever the standards of morale is for that culture. And morale can be debatable because in one part of the world, something can be viewed as a standard, and in another part of the world, it might not be. What a lot of people don't realize is ancient cultures had. Let's talk about food. Ancient cultures had animals that were considered. I forget the word. You could say kind of like forbidden from being
Sacred,
eaten. Sacred,
sacred.
yeah, yeah. And you just don't eat them. Eat sacred, and also animals that are considered dirty. So you don't consume them. But in different parts of the world, it's different because you see those Europeans. That whatever the Italians, Romans at the time, and all Greeks and all them, they
Mhm.
didn't value in Jewish Middle Eastern and Jewish pork was dirty animal, whatever. In the Romans cultures, in the Greek culture, the pig was not because they were consuming it. So who's wrong? Nobody's wrong. It's just what your culture. That's in my opinion. That's what I feel like when the Romans switched from their um, they worship the sun. You know what I'm saying? They had a sun god, Sol Invictus, right? When they just converted their religion over to Christianity, which Christianity broke off from Judaism, um, I feel like it's deeper than what people probably say about the unification of I guess they say the world, but they just knew the world as that region. It's deeper than that. Jesus, those things allowed Jewish laws to be changed because Jesus, the Jews had Israel had a dietary law.
Mhm.
Well, Jesus kind of, I forget how the scripture goes, but he kind of nullifies it to where it's saying it's not what you eat that defiles you. It's like, I guess, what you do, something like that. So it kind of means you can eat anything. But I think that was done because these other people, these Roman stuff, they weren't gonna follow Jewish dietary laws and other stuff too. If you notice, a lot of the stuff, if they would have had to fully convert, because Jesus was not a Christian, Jesus was a Jew. So he
Uh-huh.
was practicing Judaism, I would believe. I don't think he was saying this is Christian. I'm just teaching, but he's remixing stuff on the spot.
Yeah, he was I mean, Jesus, according to the story, Jesus is a practicing Jew. But there are a lot of elements in there, especially with Paul, mostly with Paul, a little bit on the Jesus side, as far as them trying to make this a sales pitch for the Romans, because the Romans, even though they knew that they respected Greek because it had an ancient history that they respected, but Romans they thought very highly of themselves. If you're not Roman, you ain't shit. The Christian religion would not have been able to grow in Rome if they had to follow Jewish traditions, because they looked down on Jewish traditions and Jews themselves. So they had to, the letters of Paul especially romanizes, and of course the letters that were not written by Paul, but claimed to be written by Paul, they had to romanize the religion in order for it to grow. But you're right. I mean, what you eat is all, what's good for you to eat, what's bad for you to eat is all going to be based on religious traditions at that time frame, cultural traditions, and then they just wrote them into their religion and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciate y'all here. I'm gonna let some other people come on because I don't know why. Yeah, getting a bunch of people today.
Okay. All right. Now, hey, I appreciate you having me up, man.
All right, and may the force be with you, Obi.
Yeah, for sure, Lorenzo. Always, man.
Always.
Yes, sir.
I gotta say that when Obi come on, it just won't feel right. All right, I'm trying to go in order here as far as what I can tell, but HMD doc, HMD doc, HM doc. I don't know why.
How you doing, brother?
You need the whole goddamn thing. You're over 21, and are you a believer?
Yes, but not in the traditional sense.
Yes, you're over 21, and you're not in the traditional sense. Is that what you mean?
Yes, I'm 40.
Okay.
I used to be a Christian, but I became more of a mystic, and we read the Bible through a different lens.
I'm just laughing because yesterday I did a video about mystic Christianity. Go ahead.
Oh, that's cool. It's all good.
So, what do you think about sins versus morals?
So the way I look at sin versus morals, let's look at it from a pretty purely like energetic standpoint, is polarity. So each one of us has polarity.
Right.
So basically, how we view God is, God was never created nor can be destroyed. What's the only other concept that follows that? Energy.
God is energy.
Energy can never be created nor destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So the atom collapses into matter through the electron. So Adam and Eve is actually the actual Adam, and Eve is the electron that gave birth to the light of the world, which would be the first photon, which would be Jesus.
Okay, let's get to the.
What's that, brother?
Let's get to the subject.
Oh, I am. But it all, sin versus morals all start with the serpent and the tree, right? Like you shouldn't eat the fruit of the tree, right?
I mean, yeah, that would be like the first. Some people would say that that's the first sin. I would say that this guy lying was the first sin.
Correct. And we would see it as, the tree of knowledge is actually your nervous system, and the tree of life is your cardiovascular system.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the toroidal field that encompasses your body is the shape of an apple. And, like in Hindu culture, it talks about Kundalini rising, which is the serpent rising up the spine. Moses lifted up the serpent in the desert.
Let me interject for a second.
Sure.
The apple thing, I would let that go, because the only reason that people have a concept of an apple is because of the Latin word for apple and the Hebrew word, the Proto-Hebrew word for fruit, just look similar, but they have nothing to do with each other.
Right. I guess I'm trying to provide evidence in a sense for why they called it what they called it.
What, an apple?
Correct.
No, but they called it an apple because the Latin translation, in Latin, the word apple is like malu, like malu, something like that. And then the Greek word for the fruit is similar to malu. And so that's how the whole apple concept came into being, right? So it doesn't fit with, what did you say, your aura looking like an apple?
The toroidal field, your energetic field that surrounds your body. If you look at a picture of it, because the body to me is the body. It's talking about the creation of man. It talks about our 7 centers, the 7 energy centers. God created the earth in 7 days. Our body is the temple of the earth. Everything that our body is made of is built of the earth. Everything our mom ate, our dad ate, everything we ate, literally built the temple of the earth. So the way we perceive the body is it's actually talking about the body, not the actual earth itself. So from that perspective, when you're talking about like the tree of knowledge of good and evil being the nervous system, it's that the nervous system, decodes our electrical impulses from the external world and relay them to our brain. So basically, we're telling our brain what's good and bad. The cardiovascular system is the tree of life because the cardiovascular system represents the tree of life because the physical body. Genesis 2:9 states the tree of life was in the midst of the garden, which is the heart.
Okay.
And then out of the Genesis 2:10 states a river went out into Eden, which would be the body, to water the garden, and from there divided into.
Okay, but you're proselytizing right now.
Oh no, I'm describing science.
No, you're proselytizing your religious views. So, but what we're here to talk about is, based on your religious view, is sin versus moral. Are they the same? Can you be moral without? Are they separate? Can you be moral without believing in your version of Christianity?
Well, when you're viewing like sin versus morals, through what perspective are we viewing sin versus moral? Are you viewing it as an energetic thing, or through the Christian religion, like? From your perspective,
not mine, yours.
Yeah, so for mine, I would see sin and morals like the polar opposite of like a demon and an angel, or a good feeling and a bad feeling, or male and female. Duality is expressed throughout all of creation. So if you have a sin, you have to have a positive to that. So for me, the way I look through it through the Hindu culture is the chakra center, the energy centers in our body. Each center that is closed off to us, we would have to use the moral, which is the higher thought of the negative thought, to be able to move past that center of energy. Does that make sense? So basically, lust would be a sin, yeah?
No.
Lust isn't a sin?
No.
In the Christian religion?
Oh, in a Christian religion, yeah.
Yeah, I know, I understand. So in an energetic sense, we would say lust is sexual. So the sexual energy that we have is how I would look at that as our root chakra. So if you're stuck in lust, if you're stuck in desire a lot, then that means in an energetic sense, you're stuck in your root chakra.
You mean your sacral chakra?
Was that sacral? Yeah, your sacral chakra.
Yeah, your sacral chakra. So you would say that lust then is a sin?
Well, in the sense of energy, because if the goal is to cleanse our energetic centers, right? So we climb the 7, it talks about the ladder in the Bible. Jacob talks about the ladder with 33 steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jesus lived at 33 as well. So it's symbolic for the Christ oil in our body moving down in our mind. It starts from the claustrum, moves through our pineal and our pituitary gland, and then moves down our spine through 2 nerves called Ida and Pingala. That happens when the sun enters, when the moon enters into your sun sign. So it also tells the story of Jesus. Jesus came from heaven, the Christ oil, the Christos, because it was originally in Greek. Greek means oil, or Christos means oil.
But
so the oil from the mind, the Holy Land, where Jesus said you'll be dipped in milk and honey.
You're going way down the road. I mean,
I know. I'm trying to start the basis of what I'm trying to talk about, but it's a lot to explain, I guess.
Well, you're going in a big ass circle instead of cutting to a straight line. But let me make a correction. There is no specification as to how many steps were on Jacob's ladder.
It was 33.
It doesn't. The Bible doesn't say anything about 33 steps on Jacob's ladder. Right? It's not there. It's not. It's an unknown number. You want to find it?
Yeah, I will.
No, I'll find it for you. And this is, to me, this is one of the, and I went through what you are talking about, what you are dealing with. And I am fond of some of it, not fond of other parts of it. But one of the things that I found off-putting is when things are stated that are just not true.
Like what?
Like you just said 33 steps, and then you try, and then to put those 33 steps into that gives you like it's 33 steps. Jesus was 33 when he died. The sun goes out of a age on the 33rd degree, you know, all those sorts of things, trying to make these connections that are just simply not there. I know.
It's a base of knowledge that I have, I guess, that would lead me to that conclusion. But you're right, it doesn't specifically state it. But I don't know.
It's supposed to be in Jacob.
I don't really know. I keep getting sent off in different directions.
Now, I knew that Jacob's ladder, I thought it was in Genesis 28.
Yeah, I remember reading it. I couldn't remember it myself either.
Let me see.
The specific thing.
Let me Google the damn thing. Instead of going off my damn little memory.
But while you're looking that up, because the reason is because when Jacob also fought at the place called Pineal, he saw the face of God. And to a mystic, it talks about the pineal gland, not an actual heel called pineal.
So Genesis chapter 28. Yeah. Okay, Jacob left Beersheba and went towards Haran. He came to a certain place and stayed there for the night. Because the sun was setting, taking one of the stones and placing it, he put it under his head and lay down in their place. And he had a dream that there was a stairway set up on earth and the top reached the heavens. And the angels of God were ascending and descending out. The Lord stood beside him and said, I am the Lord your God. So it doesn't say anything about how many steps.
It didn't say what? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last part.
No, so it doesn't say anything about how many steps. It just says that there was a stairway that he had a dream, and there was a stairway that there was a stairway set up on the earth, the top of it reaching the heavens, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. It never says anything about the number of realms.
I misspoke. It's more correctly related to the 33 years that Jesus lived.
How is it related to the 33 years of Jesus lived if it doesn't say what number?
Okay, so if I go through this story, right? Jesus came from heaven, came down, and then died for 3 days, and then rose back up into heaven.
Well, the 3 days is debatable as well, but
it also follows the cycle within our body.
So, but you see how you're interjecting?
No, I
the
don't.
33.
You're what I'm saying. So, I'll move on. Thank you for.
It's not about being. That's so funny to me that people. You got to be open to what they're saying instead of having a conversation and finding out what's right, what's wrong. If it doesn't say 33, it doesn't say 33.
No, and I told you. I've already told you 3 times that was a misstep, but you keep going back to it.
No, but I didn't. After you said a misstep, you tried to re-justify
through the age of Christ, and I was going into the story of
which is re-justifying that there are 33 steps on the rung. So it's like, I'm gonna say that I misstepped, but I'm gonna justify it anyway.
Okay, thank you. Let's get talking to you.
All right. I mean, I let you pontificate about your religion, and you find out that you're wrong about something, and then you crash out and run. That's ridiculous, man. If you can't stand on your feet on your religion, then you shouldn't be doing it. Right? You just shouldn't be doing it. Right? And just because somebody disagrees with you, gonna run. I mean, if you show me that I'm wrong about something, I'm just like, okay, I was wrong about that, and you know what? I'm gonna change the way I think about it. You know, I'm not gonna sit up there and do, oh, you're not open, so I'm not want to talk to you no more. Why does everybody have to be brainwashed? Right? Why do people need somebody to be in agreement with them in order for them to be able to stand on their religion? That shows to me that's a weakness within your belief. How could you even say that sin has nothing to do with morals? Because you can have morals and those morals not be a sin. You can have sin, but those sins not be moral, right? You understand what I'm saying? So a sin is basically something that you do against a God or the rules of a God. Morals are something that you do that are against an agreed upon societal norm, right? So living in America, it is not immoral for me to not believe in the God of the Bible, but it is a sin to not believe in the God of the Bible. But I'm not being immoral as far as society is concerned, as far as morality is concerned. That is not immoral. It is not immoral for somebody to be Buddhist or Muslim or any other religion that does not believe in Jesus. It's not immoral, but it is a sin according to Christianity. But it's only a sin within Christianity. And they say that that's from my opinion. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. That is purely a fact. To think otherwise, it is just that is an opinion to think otherwise. Because I just demonstrated how you can be moral, but not believe in your God, but that's considered a sin. Right? And if a person thinks that is immoral to not worship their God, that's sad. You have a low opinion of things, of people. What up, Carlos?
How you doing, man?
Pretty good. What you got on the subject matter there?
Well, thing is that the sin is something that I think we, as human beings, it's subjective because it's static, meaning people read about it in some books that were written by ancient people who saw certain types of behavior as not being right.
Mm-hmm.
Morals are way different because it really depends in lots of ways on the society that you're in. Um, so, and sin doesn't cover every single thing that you do, but morals do, actually.
Mm-hmm.
All your actions are covered by your morals. Now, I'm a, I'm a deconstructionist. Uh, I've been mentally and emotionally deconstructing from Christianity since I was a teenager because there was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
questions I used to ask. I used to ask that nobody could answer. I grew up in a Christian home. My mother is still a Christian. She's one of those fire and brimstone type of evangelicals. And what used to get me was when I used to ask questions, even about the difference between something that might be considered a sin and morally right. They could describe the sin, but then the moral part of it could never be described or could never be. It couldn't be justified. No, they couldn't explain it. Why this was right and why this was wrong, or why this was wrong and why this was right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was never an approach where is this particular action or group of actions going to hurt somebody? Is it going to
Right.
cause pain to other people? And if the question is yes, and if the answer is yes, then why are you taking this action? But then you say that it's sinful, so that you're taking the action even though it's going to cause hurt. So it was a lot of things like that that caused me to start my journey. I'm fully into my journey now, and
Oh,
and believe it or not, when you get to this point, you definitely see the world and life in a much bigger prism,
yes, you do. I got a question
a
for you.
much bigger. Yeah.
What type? Because your family's Mexican, right?
Nah, man, I'm Carlos from Barbados. I keep messaging you
Oh,
on the.
okay. Damn, I thought you was the other Carlos. Damn it.
Nah, I'm Carlos. I'm from Barbados. I'm from Barbados. I live in the Caribbean.
Well, it still might work. It still might work. The thought process I was having still might work. Uh,
Go ahead.
I had it all built up already though for Mexican Carlos.
Okay.
Screwing me up, man. Okay, so what is your heritage from Barbados?
Yeah, I'm
Like
a
it's
black Caribbean.
indigenous
I'm a black.
and or African or a mixture of both.
Yeah. What Americans would say? I'm Afro Caribbean, but in the Caribbean we don't say Afro Caribbean. We just say Caribbean. I'm Afro Caribbean, so Black heritage from Africa, from the
Okay,
transatlantic slave trade from West Africa, and
gotcha.
born in the Caribbean. Yeah.
So to make this work the way I had it already in my mind, there's some elements that
Mhm.
won't work though, but other parts still do. Your so this is how I think this is one way to think about it. And I know you're already deconstructing. I thought you was a Mexican Carlos, and I should have known because Mexican Carlos is still Christian. But
Yeah.
so think about the fact that your African ancestors were living their lives with their own morality and have their own version of what is sinful and what is not, according to their belief in their gods, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
But then here comes somebody else who has a different culture and a different religion. And even the things of your culture that they thought that was good, that your culture said was good, like maybe a healer, right?
Yeah.
In that African culture, they would have said a healer was good. But here comes this European with Christianity saying that your healer is actually evil and is using demon power to heal people.
Yeah, you're correct. And I think the thought process you had with the Mexican Carlos and me is kind of the same, because here we had thought that a lot of our culture that our ancestors brought from Africa is evil.
Yeah. Now,
And
I was hoping
because,
you were Mexican Carlos because I was hoping he was Toltec because I had a whole great example with the Toltecs. But
oh, the Toltecs with the Central American tribes. Okay.
yeah, it would have worked better. Yeah, my
Cultures.
thought was with the Toltecs and how the Toltecs first sided with the Spanish and they were considered to be good, but then as soon as they helped the Spanish defeat the Aztecs, then all of a sudden they flipped on the Toltecs and told them that they shit was evil. Right. So it just shows
Yeah.
how they will take
It,
sin and mix it with morality.
yeah.
Right.
That's what happens. So the thing is, okay, so especially with me, with us in the Caribbean,
Mm-hmm.
we are very Christian centered, from most of the Caribbean islands, very Christian centered.
Yes.
And
Or
we've been taught, even growing up as a in the society, that things that came from Africa, the culture, the way they worship, their spirituality was evil. But
mm-hmm.
was evil, because the word obia in our culture means something bad. It means spells. It means what you call black magic, and what that is. It means dark. And a lot of us accepted that because the European centric religion taught us that that's what it was. They taught us that that was evil. But as a lot of us got older, we realized, but how could it be evil? Because our ancestors practiced it. They didn't know anything else, and that's what they practiced. And they got along really well practicing what they practiced. But then the Europeans are coming along and tell us, well, you were wrong, we are right, so you have to adopt our religion. So they came here and they vilified African spirituality, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only
Yeah.
country that didn't really vilify African spirituality was Haiti, because what the church did in Haiti, they realized that they couldn't get the Africans to give up their spirituality. So they basically gelled it together with Catholicism. So what you have in Haiti a lot is a hybrid of African spiritualism and Catholicism. So the Catholic Church made a compromise. So they wanted them to follow Jesus and the Catholic Church in a way, but they weren't letting go of the spirituality. So they have like a hybrid of Christianity. So that came with spiritual baptism and all of that, and it went out and out and out.
They
So
did
it's
that.
it's the
They
same.
did
So
that. They did that in Mexico as well, and we're about to have a huge festival here in San Antonio, like the biggest festival that they have, which is the Day of the Dead, and which
yeah, you're
that
right.
was yeah,
That doesn't meld with Christianity, does it?
yeah, it doesn't jive with Christianity, but then they'd say, oh, but we have veneration of saints. So since we have veneration of saints, and y'all are kind of doing the same thing with your ancestors, even though your ancestors aren't saints, they kind of like mixed it together. But they still have the goddess of death. I forgot her name that they have for the Mexican goddess of death. They still really put her in sainthood level, right? Like I'll shoot some video while I'm down there so y'all can see it.
Mhm.
It's a huge freaking. Wait a minute. It's this weekend. It's this upcoming weekend, I think, or next weekend. One of
And
them.
it was a lot of stuff. So the thing about us here in the Caribbean is that there are a lot of persons who don't
Santa
really
Maria.
do church. They still have that belief in the deity, but they don't really do church. And most people are moving, a lot of people moving away from the whole church deity thing. So there's, for us in human thought, it's an evolution as to what you believe. And that person who used to tell you something can't explain what they're telling you. You get to realize that they don't know either.
No. Oh, and
They
it's
can't
called.
provide you with facts
Yeah, and
or
Brandon just reminded me of Santa
proof
Muerta. Go
either.
ahead.
So then,
You keep blinking off and on, Carlos.
so it's like I was reading at work, streaming you in the work vehicle. If you can hear me,
No, I couldn't.
can you hear me, Coach?
You blinked off and on, so I heard you, but I couldn't understand a damn thing you were saying. All I
Can you
heard
hear me
was
now?
work.
Oh yeah, so I'm actually at work, um,
Oh.
driving in the work vehicle. The work car.
You ain't driving, you riding, you in the passenger seat.
I'm in the passenger seat, actually. Yeah, but what I wanted to say, if you can hear me, is that okay? So I was reading something about Christopher Columbus and some of the stuff he did when he came to this part of the world. How they subjugated the Arawaks and the Caribs that lived here. And
Right.
there were sometimes, so Christopher Columbus came with this type of religion. He met the Arawaks practicing whatever spirituality they practiced. And there was a time he used the moon, I think it was an eclipse of the moon, to
Yeah.
scare the Arawaks into believing in his God, because he said, if they didn't do something because the moon would turn this way, it means the God is angry. Now the thing about it is that Christopher Columbus, he was using science, the science of the time, because the Europeans knew at the time that the sun, because of their knowledge that they gained, that the sun was just a heavenly body that shone, that rose, and so on and so forth. The Arawaks may not have recognized that about the sun, so they might have deified the sun, but the Europeans actually was using science to prove. They proved that the sun was just a heavenly body. It was nothing. It wasn't a deity. Some other cultures might have seen it as a deity. So what happens with us is that we take science and proof when it suits us. But when science proves certain things about religion, most people don't want to take it. But science has proven over and over again that lots of things we believe in religion are false. But we only take it when it suits us. It's like Columbus used science because he knew from his
Right.
knowledge the sun was just a heavenly body, but he used the other cultures' lack of that knowledge to scare them into doing something. So it's kind of a cycle repeating itself, where science has advanced that it can explain a lot of things that happen to us, and we can say something, but some people don't want to accept that because it rocks the foundation of what they believe.
And
And they
for
believe,
those,
and people are
yeah.
comfortable with the belief.
Oh, very comfortable with it. And for those who don't know what Carlos is talking about, when Columbus landed in Jamaica, they needed food and water. And in order to con the Jamaicans into giving them food and water, he told them that his God was angry with them if his God would be angry with them. So he used like a red moon. It was a red moon, and said that the God will make the moon red or some shit like that. And
Yeah, I think it was the red moon.
then
Yeah.
the people saw that, they fell for his bullshit. Because Columbus was more. I'm not trying to make him justified in any way. Columbus was a business. He was all of this shit with Columbus was strictly business for him, right?
But that's why he came to the Caribbean. That's why they sent him. He was looking for treasure
Yeah,
and for
I mean,
commerce, and to make the empires that sent him more powerful. The whole religion thing, the church had to sanction that trip for him to go. He said, well, if you're going to go, well, okay, cool, you're going to go, but you got to try to convert the quote unquote savages
Yeah.
that you meet into this religion. Because we know that this religion was forced on almost every person, every society that practiced this it was forced on them. It wasn't free will, right? It was forced. So that's what he did.
Yeah, there was no force involved. I mean, there was no free will involved in it at all. It was all force, and then the trickery of it. And I like how you were saying that believers will use science whenever it fits their narrative, but when it doesn't fit their narrative, it was all superstition. So it was a superstition because they saw blood moons or harvest moons or bloom moons, and I forgot there's one more name for a pinkish looking moon. All these different moons have this red hue to it. And so they wrote that into their fairy tale, like in Revelations, where it says that the moon will become as blood, right? So those things were written into their fairy tale because they didn't understand what it was. But now we understand and know what it is. Yet these people, now they'll try to say that, oh, well, that's how God's been planning it. And he keeps showing you these red moons as a reminder that it's going to come.
Yeah. Just like that
So
rainbow
their script in
explanation,
a
right? The
minute.
rainbow explanation after the flood.
All I heard was flood.
Yeah, the rainbow explanation when they said that God put the rainbow up because it was to remind you that he was not going to flood the earth again, blah blah blah.
Right. The rainbow is a sign for that God won't destroy the earth by water ever again. So that's why he put the rainbow in the sky. But it's like, nah, dude, there was rainbows long before the writings of the Bible. And I mean, people saw rainbows. Like when you read some of the Sumerian Akkadian writings, they talk about how rainbows was at waterfalls and shit like that. So people knew rainbows existed long before this flood story ever came about. Even before their own flood story, there was a rainbow.
Yeah, that's correct.
If you read the Chinese Yellow River flood, then the rainbow came about when she took these turtle legs and put them up she took these stones to seal up the dome. And because these stones were the different colors of the rainbow, that's how the rainbow came about, according to old Chinese mythology. So,
so everybody has mythology. The thing about it is that when I refer to Christianity, though, it's in terms of maybe the Bible and what it says, I would tell people, okay, so this is Christian mythology, and they clutch their pearls and say it's mythology, just like there's Greek mythology, Chinese mythology. The Chinese believe that you don't believe, it's mythology. It's like, but I believe as societies evolve, and maybe 500, 1,000 years from now, this will just be seen as mythology, and it will move on to something else. Yeah,
right.
This is not something that's going to plague human existence for another 5, 6, 7,000 years.
And they take these mythologies and then they change the meaning and understanding of the mythologies to fit whatever the morality is for the culture of the day, and then try to make that morality into a sin, right?
Exactly.
Because for a minute, suicide was not considered a sin, but then too many people were suiciding themselves, and so the Catholic Church then made suicide a sin, right? Which then it made it a sin for all of Europe at that time frame and considered immoral. And then, of course, we have our own debates now about assisted suicide. And it all hinges based on the fact that the Catholic Church at a time frame decided that it was a sin. And so now they're trying to say it's immoral. But truth be told, culture has flipped on that subject matter over the last 1,000 years. And it's probably flipping towards the idea that assisted suicide is not considered immoral at some point. Now, I think
because it's flipping to the idea where people are taking more control over their own lives, your own life.
Yeah,
but
because I ain't gonna lie. I watched. Some of you guys know one of my good friends. When she had pancreatic cancer, she came and stayed with me for her last 3-4 months. And after watching that on a daily basis, that last probably month and a half, hell no, give me some drugs, let me go. But that's some bullshit. I would not want to go through what she went through.
So listen,
Now,
if you want to choose the way you go, I'm fine. If you're mentally ready for that, that's okay. I
yeah,
have no problem with that
yeah. In those situations,
because
I have
nobody's feeling
no
your
problem.
pain. Yeah.
Yeah, those situations I have.
And the thing about it, it's a and the thing about it's a moral thing because in Europe it's seen differently than it is where you are in the States. Europeans see it differently than where you are, and in different cultures, different countries, it's going to be seen differently based on how people perceive certain things. And unfortunately, it always comes right back to some type of religious thought about the whole process.
Yeah,
Okay. But listen, coach, I'm at work, so I'm a log on to the next live you have, and we can have another conversation because a couple of questions I want to ask you. I know I sent you some. I sent you a couple. One video from YouTube that I wanted you to see if you can break down and have a conversation about it, especially for the deconstructionists and just for persons who are thinking about it who might actually be in your life. Because there are persons on your life that I know for sure are in between, but just need information. Not to be convinced, they might just need some information. That's all.
and you said
So
you sent me an email.
I'm gonna have to holler at you again.
Okay.
I sent you it on. I think I sent you via Messenger. That was a couple of weeks ago. It was a YouTube conversation between. It was a. I think it was a. It was a scientist trying to prove that the flood happened X amount of thousand years ago, and that Pangea basically existed at the same time. It was kind of crazy.
Okay, I'll go look that up.
Yeah, go look that up, Coach. But it's nice talking to you, man. I always wanted to get in on a call for the longest while. No, I have a chance to do that, so I'm gonna be back.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Have a good.
All right. Oh shit, I hit that too early. I'm pretty sure he was just saying see you later. Appreciate you, Carlos. I just had to know for myself real quick. So the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Canada, New Zealand, Switzerland, and Spain is looking at making. When was this written? This was written in 2021. So in 2021, Spain was looking at making assisted suicide legal. But Netherlands, which is Netherlands and Luxembourg, I know are very secular countries. Canada is very secular. So is New Zealand. New Zealand is actually very secular. Okay, so these are mostly secular countries that have made assisted suicide legal. Now, of course, that's a demonstration of how culture has decided what is going to be considered sin and moral instead of religion. Because religiously, that would be considered a sin based on Catholic doctrine. Because I don't think, does anyone know if the Bible specifically says or even alludes to suicide being a sin? All right. Does anybody know that? Know? Let me I'm waiting on y'all for. The Bible does not contain specific verse stating suicide is a sin. Most Christian traditions interpret it as a rejection of God's gift of life, therefore a serious sin, so mortal sin. This condemnation is derived from broader scriptural practices regarding the sanctity of life and God's sovereignty. Okay, so the sixth commandment, thou shalt not. So they're getting this from the sixth commandment, thou shalt not murder, but murder is to kill somebody else. The gift of life, the Bible teaches that human life is a sacred gift from God as he created in his image. Our bodies belong to God, according to 1 Corinthians 6, 19 through 20. So the suicide is not explicitly forbidden. The biblical accounts of people who took their own lives, like Judas Iscariot and King Saul, portrays it as a tragic outcome of despair, guilt, shame, rather than a righteous act. Well, the unrighteous act of Judas was turning Jesus into the people. I don't remember Saul taking his own life. I don't remember the circumstances around Saul taking his own life. 1 Samuel 31 and 4. 1 Samuel 31 and 4. 1 Samuel 31 and 4. What's 1 Samuel 31? Whole verse here. Now the Philistines had fought against Israel, and the men of Israel fled before the Philistines, and many fell on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines overtook Saul and his son, and the Philistines killed Jonathan and Abinadab and some other dude named the sons of Saul. The battle pressed hard on Saul, and the archers found him, and he was badly wounded by them. Then Saul said to his armor bearer, "Draw your sword and thrust it through me with it, so that these uncircumcised may not come and thrust me through and make a sport of me." Now, of course, I think somewhere else in 2 Samuel, it says that Samuel died a different way, but still similar to somebody else killing him upon his request. So the Bible doesn't really explicitly say this is church thought. Of suicide being a sin. But the main reason that the church started doing that is because people were offering themselves so that they can get to heaven faster. So they was like, we got to make this into a mortal sin. So what do you guys think? Is suicide a sin? If you think suicide is a sin, put a 1 in the comment. If you think suicide is immoral, put a 2 in the comment. If you think that there are some types of suicide that is moral, put a 3 in the comment. See, I'd be a 2 and a 3. I don't think people should be killing themselves just because they're sad or their life is being run down. You know, they're struggling, they're on struggle bus. But in certain situations, I think that is perfectly fine. All right. To be able to, you know, I told my wife, if I'm in a certain situation, just roll me, let's go look at a cliff. And then forget that you left something in the car. I won't be there when you get back. I won't be there when you get back. Okay, so VV's okay, so 3. All right, Center Star says it's a 1. Thinking that's an unforgivable sin. VV says 3, which some situations is okay. Spaz Daz says it's 3. K says it's a 2. Kevin said a 4. You tripping? It's a way. It's a way. Whatever, Kevin. Bruce says a 12, and I have no clue. What's that purpose? On your work. Y'all talking about something else. Tina said 2 and 3. Yeah, I'm a 2 and 3 with limitations. I don't think that we should just be able to do it just because your life is a little rough right now. And see, that's why it is all subjective. You see that it is subjective. Kevin over on TikTok says 3, neutral based on the morale of your community. Right. Your community is gonna determine it. Oh, Bruce said he meant 2. That is immoral. Right. And where was that coming in? Chixie Mary said, we don't all feel the same way. This is a very small sample size, but it does demonstrate how morals are subjective. And even the idea of it being sinful is subjective. It's subjective based on if you believe in certain gods. But according to the God of the Bible, it is not specific as to whether or not it is considered a sin. So, which just further exemplifies the point. Saul killed himself because the servant wouldn't. Isaac got to write us a storybook. Saul killed himself because his servant wouldn't do it. Then Saul said to his armor bearer, draw the. That's what I just read. But the armor bearer would not, for he was so afraid. Therefore, Saul took the sword and fell upon him, and Saul died, and his 3 sons, and his armor bearer, and all his men that same day together. Doesn't another part say that Saul was killed by somebody else, though? So this is why in countries where you have democracy, it can be debated, and then the law can be made based on whatever the moral conclusion is of that country. So like the 6 countries that I pointed out earlier, they are very secular countries, and they have, you can practice assisted suicide in those countries, right? So if I was in America and let's say I had something that is incurable, I'm probably gonna just leave and go to one of those countries because there ain't no way in hell I'm gonna waste the money first. So I basically watched my friend also. Not only was I watching her pass away through pancreatic cancer, but I also watched her go bankrupt and go into the deep negative, which of course, those negatives are passed along to whoever your family members are. So I'd be like, hell no, we're not gonna go broke over this. I'm not gonna leave you broke and paying for something that is not even going to sustain my life. So I just skip on over to Spain, or I like Switzerland. Switzerland expensive shit though. But and be like, hit me up, Doc. Hit me up. Because I don't know if y'all ever seen somebody go through something like that. But nah. But I used to think, I thought that way even before I watched it. Watching it just confirmed it for me. So, but then I would be considered sinful according to these religions, right? But I don't believe in your God, so how can I be sinful if I don't believe in your God? I'm only sinful because of what you think, your opinion, your beliefs. It has nothing to do with me. And see, I would consider what Big Red just said as immoral. Wait, was that statement at? Big Red Moon said that we need more deportation of Mexicans, called Carlos Diaz. See, that one sounds racist. 2, I think that's immoral. For a country that claims to be a country of freedom, a country that is started by that shit. Every person in here, your ancestry, most people's ancestry in this country goes back to immigrant, and especially the conquering immigrant for a lot of people. So that's flipping the script to now say, oh, we all came here and we didn't go through no paperwork and we stole the land and lied and made treaties that we didn't keep and we killed people over the land. But now we want to tell people they can't come in. That's a hypocrite. That's a hypocrite. That's it. And then you're buying into some bullshit. They want to throw Carlos Diaz out, but they don't want to throw Gunter out. They don't want to throw the Canadians out. They don't want to throw the Spanish out. They don't want to throw the French out, the German out, the British out. You don't want to throw them out, but you want to throw Carlos out, right? You want to throw Trudeau out. You want to throw Ningazia out. Oh, come on in, Richard. Richard Johnson, come in. That's bullshit. That's straight bullshit. That is just more, that's political. But then how do you frame that with your religion? Because doesn't your religion say that you are supposed to take care of the widows and the orphans, and you're supposed to take care of the poor, right? That's what the religion says, but you don't want to help people who are living in dire straits, and they want to come to a place and work hard to not live in dire straits again. They want to work hard to give their children a better life, right? You want to keep those people out. It's a bunch of bullshit. Usually, that's just a bunch of bullshit. That's just a bunch of whiny. I'm buying into this unjust system that we live in. I guess does nobody else want to come up? Y'all scared to come up? Let me read some comments then. I'll read some comments. I can read comments. I got to catch up to whatever the hell y'all talking about, though. Okay, I thought so. The Bible presents two accounts of Saul's death, one in which he falls on his own sword, and a second told by an Amalekite, in which he says Saul, in which he killed Saul after that. Yeah, I thought there was two contradictory accounts of Saul's death. I thought that there was two accounts of Saul's death. So there's all, the Bible has all these contradictions within them. Said, don't catch up, y'all being rude in the chats. I'm pretty sure that Fred is probably saying some dumb shit in the chat, which is why I ignore Fred all the time. Well, 90% of the time. I don't say all the time. Sometimes he might make a statement that proves to be interesting. And this is something that I do find interesting. They have to be conditioned to believe that anybody who leaves the cult comes to a nefarious end, which is such bullshit, because people leave this religion all the time and never come to a nefarious end. People stay in this religion and don't come to a nefarious end. People are in this religion, come to a nefarious end, and people outside this religion come to a nefarious end. That's just the way life goes for people. Carlos Diaz. Okay.
Good afternoon, Lorenzo. How you doing, big guy?
Doing pretty well. I know we've talked before. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you my Mexican Carlos? Mexican heritage Carlos?
It could be. I found out the other day I've got some Mali tribe in my DNA.
Nah, you ain't the one I was thinking about then.
Probably not.
Yeah. Oh, you got some Mali tribe in there, huh?
Yeah.
Welcome to the family.
Yeah, I've got Mali. I've got a little bit of Irish and Spaniard.
Okay. That's not strange. When Spain first started, I mean, well, two things. Um, During the Moorish conquest of Spain, you had people from Mali that was in Spain, and then you had during the Spanish slave trade, you had Mali. What the Mali Empire was part of that. The Mali people were part of that transaction as well. Transition, not as a transaction, part of that transaction as well. So
Yeah,
not strange at all. We're all mutts in a way.
absolutely. We all came from two people. Science tells us that.
Yeah.
Like we don't need a Bible to know to have come to that conclusion.
What? We all come from two people. Science does not tell us that.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
No. Science has never made
How many people did we come from then?
a conclusive argument that we came from two people.
We
Science
don't.
actually,
We don't come from a male and a female.
we a male and a female, yes, but not okay. I took it as two people of the Bible. Uh, Scientifically, you need at
Well,
least, I think the number is 16,000 couples in order to have enough genetic diversity for humanity to survive, to recreate itself. So, like, if all of humanity, if there was a big cataclysmic event, we need roughly 16,000 couples. So there's no way we started from Adam and Eve
in our current circumstances,
in any circumstance.
in any. But
In
how do we
any,
know that? If we weren't around to you know assess what the conditions and the circumstances were back then, how do we know that's the case?
it wouldn't matter how pristine the earth is. The genetic material of two people, or even in the Noah story, six people restarting civilization, we you have that incestuous level is not enough genetic diversity. We'd all like devolve. And we know that the flood story, when this flood story happened, the earth wasn't pristine. We know that. It was no better than it is today. And in certain situations, it was worse.
When you say that when the flood story happened, do you mean when the flood happened, or do you mean when people were telling the story?
When the Bible flood supposedly happened,
Okay.
it would be between 2200 BCE and 2500 BCE.
Okay, I thought for a second you were affirming the flood.
No, the flood story didn't ever happen.
Okay.
But
Just checking.
we can look at core samples and see what the Earth's environment was at that time frame, and it wasn't pristine. And the
Yeah.
environment of the Earth constantly changes. It goes, we have better weather, we have worse weather. We have better air, we have worse weather. We have high methane, we have low methane. High oxygen, low oxygen. It constantly changes. So there hasn't been this one time pristine, everything was super great.
I gotcha. So this topic here, I don't want to divert you too much from your topic.
Mhm.
Sin versus morals, one has nothing to do with the other.
Yep.
So when you say morals, and you obviously, I'm sure you're well, acquainted with the debate, the whole moral debate dilemma. What's your take on it? Is there moral absolutes
Nope.
without a God? Is that possible? You said no?
There are no moral absolutes. There's no morality is subjective.
Okay. Well, that's an honest. A lot of atheists say that there is moral absolute somehow.
Yeah, then they're wrong.
Yeah,
I used to be one
I
that
agree.
I used to say that myself, but it's wrong.
Yeah, you're consistent. You're consistent with your view because we have nothing but subjective minds to ground that moral absolute. So that's an obvious no. There definitely is
But
no moral absolutes.
even
So
within religions, there's still no moral absolutes.
yeah, amongst people, you know, as far as like who decides what they are, uh, you know, we have many interpretations. There's a lot of interpretations Just call me.
Yeah. You all right?
Thanks. Yeah. I didn't want to drop this call, so I'm gonna give her a text here really quick. So I don't know how do you from your perspective, how do you figure out morality? Like, who gets to determine, or are we kind of just winging it? How we've been winging it since we've been around? Like, we get together, our brightest minds, our most,
No,
we just kind of
no,
shoot
we
from the
have
hip,
no. Is so morality doesn't come about because one person just, or there's a big meeting or something, or one person decides what the morality is.
right?
Morality is alive. It's a living, breathing thing, metaphorically. Uh, it constantly changes, but it's oftentimes a slow change as cultures change, oftentimes spurred on by different movements, um, whether they're political movements or social movements, or they change because of conquest and or for money, right? Resources. Morality will shift. So there's not this one time where you can pinpoint, okay, on October 31st of 1865, the whole country decided that it was going to change its morality on slavery. The morality of slavery changed over decades of time in America, but it changed faster in England than it did in America. So things change over, through that time, and economics played a part in it. Um, People hearing about the brutalities played a part in it. Then people start renegotiating their Bibles, and that played a part in it. So all those things played a part in the changing of those moralities. And I lost him. So since I lost him, I'm gonna go ahead and bring Ron up. What up, Ron?
Yo, what's up, man? I just wanted to be quick and say that. Okay, so first off, sin it comes from.
Can't hear you.
Can you
Can't
hear
hear
me?
you.
Can you
Barely,
hear me?
like that much.
Can
Speak
you hear me?
loud. That's better.
All right, so sin comes from the word the Sinites, which were Canaanites, right? The Sinites is where you get China from, the Chinese. So, and the word sin means to miss the mark. So literally, that's their Asiatic culture. That's their learned culture. But moralities come from the culture you were raised in, and that's their culture that they were raised in, and we just trying to adopt it. That's it.
I don't know what I did. I hit a button by accident.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. That was me. I hit a button. Don't know what button I hit, but I hit a button.
You want me to say it again?
Yeah, because I heard what you said. I already
So
know I disagree with what you said.
now look. So the word sin comes. It means to miss the mark, and it comes from the Sinites. The word sin is comes from the Sinites, which are a group of Canaanites, and the Sinites are the Chinese people. Like those are the linkings for those names. So I mean, all that it means is to miss the mark, and to miss the mark means to, like you said, to not keep those laws the right way. That's all that is. That's
Nah,
their morale though.
nah. Where do you get that from?
Look it up. Everybody knows that the sin comes. It means to miss the mark, and sin is the Sinites. I promise you, the Sinites, and those are the Chinese people.
Okay, I do understand that biblically, in the biblical version of the word sin, it means to miss the mark.
Right.
Um,
But where does the word sin come from? The Sinites. The Sinites is the Sinites from Mount Sinai, right? Something about Mount Sinai where the laws came or something.
Mount
You know?
Sinai. I don't
Yes.
think Mount Sinai got anything to do with where the word sin comes from, because sin, the word sin. So let me give you an example. The word sin was a Babylonian goddess of the moon, as far as the
Well,
Babylonians are concerned.
so it's not sin. Sin doesn't mean China. Sin doesn't link to the Chinese people at all.
No, the Chinese people were around. What we call the Chinese people, they were around way before Hebrew people ever came into existence. Like there was no such thing as a Hebrew, but there were people in China. And the Chinese have seen that their DNA suggests that they came from East Africa, um,
Yep. Yeah,
like
but what if the Hebrew?
125,000 years ago.
Oh well. See, when you get into the dates and all of that, I can't really argue with that, man. I can. That's gonna end the debate all the time is the dates. But I
Yeah,
mean,
I
if
mean,
you want to know, none of it is real, obviously, because the dates prove it all wrong. But just for the talk about it, I think that sin means to miss the mark, and it ultimately means the Sinites, people who were a group of Canaanites, and it links to the Chinese
I've
somehow.
I've never
Huh?
even heard of a group of people called the Sinites.
Yeah, look it up. Type it in Google right now. Who are the Sinites? They're one of the children of Canaanites of Canaan. Canaanites. You have the Jebusites, the Sinites, there's a whole bunch of sites that come out of. You can read it. There's a whole bunch of them, but the Sinites are where you get the word sin from, and those are the people that missed the mark. And there's a linking to the Chinese people because Shina is the same as the sin. You can do the research on
Okay,
your own, but you'll
hold
see
on,
when
I'm
you.
looking it up. The term Sinites is most common, and it does have something about China. I ain't got to it. I just saw the word China. The
Yeah.
Sinites, most commonly referred to as Canaanite tribe mentioned in the Bible, who were descendants of Noah's grandson Canaan. Though their exact location is uncertain and debated by scholars, however, the term is also used by some historians and theologians to suggest a connection to the people of ancient China through a combination of ancient texts and biblical interpretations. Um, so there was a people called Sinites, according to this.
Yeah, and look, you want to know something even crazier? Look, I'm about to blow your mind. You know how you know Japheth, right? Japheth in the Bible, Japheth.
Yeah.
So check this out. There was an empire called the Empire, and Javan is one of the sons of Japheth mentioned in the Bible. The Javanese people is them. The Javanese people are the sons of the Mahajapet Empire. This was a real empire. This is not religious. This is a
Okay.
real actual empire that really lived and existed.
This this
Yeah.
this
But what?
just sounds like a bunch.
See,
Okay, to
see.
me, hold on, don't interrupt me, man. This
My bad.
is this is a bunch of wordplay. Uh, so there was a Greek, some ancient Greeks referred to ancestors of the Chinese people as Sine, right?
Uh huh.
And because they refer to them as Sine, and it's similar to the Sinite people of the Bible, uh, it's like they're melding this stuff together. But how can you have it's impossible when you look at the historical record to say that whoever the Greek people refer to it, that when the Greek referred to people called Sine, and then you combine them with the Sinite people, but it's impossible for that to work because the Chinese people were already in China before the flood, during the flood, and after the flood, so they could not
Okay,
have
but
come
listen.
from
Let me
the
mention
children
something.
of Noah.
Right, right. But who was older? The Hebrews. If you read the genealogies, the Canaanites are older than the Hebrews. The Canaanites was around way before the Hebrews, and even in the
The,
Bible.
the
So they.
Chinese were around before Canaanites. The people were in China before Canaanites.
I can't
Chinese
argue that. That's cool.
people were in China 125,000 years ago. And then we had the Ice Age, right? The last Ice Age. And even after that last Ice Age that ended around 12,000 years ago, well, 12,000 BCE, there were still already people in China at that time. So whoever the people who survived that last ice age were still there. They was in the south, but they were still there. And then they migrated back up northward. But they didn't migrate northward from the Middle East.
Well, you know
They
what?
migrated
You know
back
what?
northward from southern China, south, the South Pacific, south that
So,
more
so
like Hong Kong area.
right, right. So yeah. So like the Han Dynasty and all of that. Yeah, it's way, way older than the Bible, right? So
Yeah.
what I have come to conclusion based off the dates and all of that, how you've disproven, and I can't argue with that. So the only thing that would make this fit is that the white people were existed only 6,000 years because they say the Earth is only 6,000 years. I think The white race is only 6,000 years, and they claiming to be the people of the book. They claiming to be Ham. They claim to be Japheth. They claim to be Shem, which is who the Jews are. They claiming all the races in the Bible. So what if it's just a big story of their individual races, like they have? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got Europe, Greece, you got all of the different subclasses of Caucasian. But what if the story is really just about their beginning? Because
I think
I mean, it's the only way. It's the only way to make the puzzle
nah,
fit.
it's not the only way.
It really is.
It's something that it's more of an adapted mentality over the last few hundred years. That mentality has been adapted to the Bible, and I say few hundred years, actually been a little bit more than that. It's been like 5, 6, 7, 800 years. That type of mentality has been adapted, but uh, we know historically that none of those people in the Middle East that at that early stage during the Hebrew time frame were white, what we call white. They were darker of skin. Even the ancient Europeans, yes, were darker of skin. But then they just adapted into becoming a lighter, less, having less melanin. So,
Well, I don't know. I don't think the story of the Bible would just be made up out of nowhere and being told that it's 6,000 years old according to the genealogy. Like, it can't just be completely out of nowhere. Or like the guy talked about earlier, how it's all really talking about the symbols of your brain and the body. That makes more sense than to make it literal. Like, it's got to mean something, though. You can't just say it's just a bunch of random text that means nothing. There's something to it that you can, that it has truth. There's something to it.
it's not random. It's a easy pathway to understand it. What the Hebrew people, the modern Hebrew, the people who were Hebrew, separated themselves from Canaanites. So they were originally Canaanites, and they took on the story of the Canaanite gods the Canaanite stories and the Canaanite gods that was already in existence, which Canaanites got it from the Sumerians and Akkadians, and we don't necessarily know where the Sumerians got their stories from. But then, even when the Israelite people, the Hebrew people, started calling themselves Israelite, their stories still, we can see for the next 1,000 years, even up to so the next 3,000 years, we can see how their story continued to change and mature based on the culture, right? And more things were added, certain things were taken away. It's just like Yahweh originally wasn't the God, right? He still had a daddy named El and a mama named Asherah, and then they merged Yahweh and El together, and then Yahweh becomes Asherah's husband, and then they got rid of, then after a while, around 600 to 700 BCE, they got rid of Asherah and took away the mother. And so the story, we can see how the story evolved over time. So it didn't just come out of nowhere.
I think it's based off of language and more like the guy the dude that came on earlier and was talking about the metaphysical stuff and with the 33. I think that's more what it's pointing to. Honestly, I know there wasn't 33 ladders and all of that, but I think it's still symbology. Because think about it, the word pineal and pineal are spelled different slightly, but it's the same word. So I think that's the kind of giving it away. Like, the whole Bible is describing you while at the same time trying to make sense of you, because you don't know how your body works. You just are experiencing it, but it's trying its best to get within your consciousness to understand it. Like, but I don't know. You can't explain it, but I do know that after this, when we die, we go to a realm full of imagination. So when you imagine right now, what you can imagine in your head is what happens when you die. It's going to be pure imagination. So whatever religion you believe is what you're going to create after this.
Okay, so there again, you're making connections that really don't exist. So what happened is the fact that when Jacob supposedly fought this God, wrestled God, he saw the face of God. And in the Hebrew, that word is pineal, right? And the word just means face of God. As science grew to understand the brain, and they recognized that our pineal gland releases DMT, which gives us.
I can't hear you. It's freezing.
You said I was freezing?
You're freezing. I can't hear you.
You still can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now a little bit. It's fuzzy, but I can hear you a little bit now.
Does anybody else have any problems? Because like I know your microphone is super low and there's a clicking sound. Or like a
Yeah, that's
constant.
probably because my phone is always low, but it's fuzzy. The fuzziness is not can't be from me.
Yeah. So what I was saying though is that the word pineal in the Hebrew meant face of God. And then when we got more and more into our technology of understanding the brain, we saw that there was a gland that releases DMT and other little juices, and that creates hallucinogens, and we see shit, which is, and then because we do that, we name that gland the pineal gland because of the reference to face of God, because of the hallucinogens that it releases, which also allows you to dream, right?
Right.
But,
That's why I said. That's why I
but
said when you die, you go to a realm of pure imagination. Like
well,
it's called the etheric. The etheric realm.
nobody can prove that. I mean,
I
it's a
mean, yeah,
great
you
hope.
can because let me tell you. Let me tell you. If you look at the sky, right, when it's blue, right, they say that the sky is blue from the water reflection, but it's really blue because that's the etheric realm. If you look up the etheric realm is blue, just like the sky. It's
My,
literally the ether.
we
It's right up
we
there.
we scientifically know the sky is blue because of light passing through water molecules.
That's what they say. They saying that.
No, we did experiments in high school. That we know this. Like I did experiments in high school in the 9th grade in physical science to demonstrate it. I mean, shit, we made a rainbow in the class.
So you're telling me
Well,
the
we didn't make a
etheric
whole
realm is
rainbow.
not real?
But
So the
until
etheric realm is just not real.
there's no proof of it. People can believe in it, but there's no
So
proof.
but when you're dreaming, that's real, right? You can't prove to me, but I know it's real in your head. But you
Yeah,
can't prove that.
we've proven that people dream, and when they dream, the images that they see is, as far as the brain is concerned, the body is concerned, that shit's real.
Right.
But
So what if
when we
there's a
wake
realm?
up,
What if there's a
it
realm
ain't
after
real.
this, where that's
But
what it is?
that that can lead you to speculate that there may be a realm beyond that. But you have to be able to prove that your consciousness stays together, you are you, and then you go into this realm to exist. But no one has went into that realm and then come back and have proof that that is truly life after you leave this existence.
Well, you know when people die, they see that light at the end of the tunnel. Guess what? I did some research. You know, y'all debate the demiurge. The demiurge is that light. That light. That's the demiurge. Because
Nobody
listen,
has.
because I'm
No,
explaining because we are
no,
the
I
light, right?
already know it, but nobody has died. First, we can stop that by the fact that no one has died and came back to life. A near death is exactly what it is. It's near death. It's not death. So you need a person who died, stayed dead for like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then somehow is brought back to life, not near death. Because when you have a near death experience, your brain is also washed over with DMT. So your ass is you just hallucinating.
But so what if the DMT is just a crossroad to transport you over up to the sky at faster than light speed? What you just don't know. What you don't know what consciousness is. You don't know what kind of because you know the synapses, right? The synapses is the electricity. You don't know when you die that electricity could go straight up to high. You don't know what that is. It's
Well,
invisible because you don't know.
that's what I'm saying. We don't know, but you're claiming that you know.
But that's what makes more sense. We can't know because we're in this body, so it's impossible to know. But we can know because we dream and imagine. That's the only realm where the synapses would connect to the greater synapses, which is the universal God, which is the great I am. The great I
As I
am, all
said,
capital.
I agree that we dream. I agree that we imagine, but we do not have full on knowledge that the dreams and the imagination is what happens when you die.
But if it's what
We
happens when you
and
sleep,
we
then who's to
and
say?
we and don't stop interrupting me. And there is no proof of a great I am or a demiurge actually existing.
Hey, well, you're gonna have to just wait till you pass away, because you're not gonna get that in this body. Like, I don't understand. Like, you're just not, because we're just in a low vibration state. You're not gonna get it. The only
I,
proof is
I,
in your head.
I will
If you,
agree that that nobody knows until you die.
but
And then,
if you
but
tell
when you
me,
die, you ain't came back and told nobody.
but if you have a dream tonight and you tell me you have a wild dream, and I have to believe it or not believe it, right? But I'm gonna believe it, because I know that dream is invisible, but it's real at the same time. So if your dream is invisible but real at the same time, who's to say
Your
there's not another realm of light that's invisible and real at the same time?
your microphone is terrible. I'm gonna have to kick this conversation, not because of the
You're
disagreement.
breaking up. You're
It's
breaking up.
just the terrible.
You're
It's
breaking
the microphone's terrible.
up.
Yeah. Um, but we can presuppose some stuff, but that's not proof. Carlos, your
Very good.
janky phone back.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. He had some really good points. He had some really good points. I personally attribute that to the God of the Bible, but I think those are really good, valid points. We know our dreams are real. We can't see them, but we know that they're
So
being viewed.
we can't view what your dream is, but we know when people are dreaming. So we know that dreams exist simply because we know people are. We've been able to study enough people, and all of them claim, oh, at this I had a dream, or this person said I didn't have a dream. But all these people who had a dream had the same type of synapses going on in their brain, and they had the same type of they had the same type of physical reactions. And we can measure those reactions and say that yes, every time somebody says they're dreaming, these are the reactions that their body is having. People say they're not dreaming. This is the reaction. This is the non-reaction that these people bodies have. So we can identify that dreams are real, but we cannot view the dreams, right? So it's
Yeah.
agreeable that dreams are real. What's not agreeable is that your dreams are a connection to any deity or any other realm outside of your head. So that is the part that is
Yeah.
not a good point.
Yeah. And like he affirmed, there we don't have the proof that you can connect it to that deity but what logically would follow, I think, is that there is something that transcends the mind. Or a place perhaps, that
That,
is
I
not
wouldn't call that. That's not a
within the realm of our understanding.
no. The logical conclusion is that what is happening is within your mind, not outside of your mind. That is not a logical conclusion.
I agree, because I do believe that the dream is taking place in your mind.
It
Um,
most certainly is.
yeah, that I agree with. I don't believe in the disembodied soul. I don't believe in the common view that the soul can live outside or experience anything outside of the body. Um, I'm more aligned with what, like, the actual Hebrews would understand the soul. The biblical definition of a soul is a living, breathing creature. And so when we die, we die, body and soul. Everything dies. There is no
Yeah.
disembodied soul or anything like that.
Well,
I think that's it.
and see, that is an example of how things change over time. When you read the older Hebrew text, the body, the soul, it all just dies, goes into a non-existence. But then as it got closer to, after they had experienced the Persians and the Greeks, they started then changing Hebrew and changing Judaism to
They
say
did.
that, oh, you do go to your soul does go to a place. Sheol has now Abraham's bosom and Abaddon. And then by the time you move to Christianity, then they change it again to heaven and hell. So you can see the migration of the thought process. So Israelite people at the time frame of Hezekiah would have thought you just died and that's it. good or bad person, doesn't matter. You die, it's over. By the time
Yeah.
you get to first century BCE, second century BCE, it was good people go to Abraham's bosom, bad people go to Abaddon. Right?
Yeah.
Which is why Jesus tells the parable of the rich man and Lazarus. One been in
Yeah.
Abraham's bosom, the other been in Abaddon, and which is why First Peter said that Jesus preached to the criminals, meaning the people who were in Abaddon. And then Revelation changes it to a lake of fire and heaven. You know, you can see it mature through the whole process. The real thing is nobody freaking know. Nobody. Not one
I'll
person.
grant you that. I'll grant you that. Nobody can prove it, at least. You know, some might claim to know. I don't know that they, you know, I claim to know. I believe it. But you're right. Nobody can prove it right now.
Yeah. And
I'm
dreams and
with you on that.
imagination can give you a hypothesis. Dreams and imagination give you a hypothesis. I even use dreams and imagination as a hypothesis that if your consciousness stays together, it will probably then be an existence that you create, you manifest, right? The Tibetan Book of the Dead, through its process of samsara, pretty much says the same thing, right? That you go through this process where you get to choose what portals, and you get your mind creates all the demons that you have created. But if you realize that these are just demons you created, then you can go on to nirvana. But if you don't and you get afraid, you stay in there some untold time, and then when a portal that feels familiar to you, you then go into that portal and you're reborn to try to go through samsara again, you know, going through another whole nother life, but you forget everything as you go through the portal. So people have their speculations. That don't mean shit at the end of the day without proof.
Yeah, I'll grant you that. And well, that'll bring us back to your topic. I think your topic is a good topic we could talk about without getting into, like, you know, it's, you know, like who's got the right facts, or, you know, I think there's a lot of stuff here that we both observe, you know, can both observe in our own experiences, like, you know, what's moral, you know, what's morality, who gets to decide it. You know, another thing here, sin, and it's when you say sin, in what context do you mean sin? Do you mean it?
Oh, go ahead.
Do you mean it in the Bible's definition? In that context, the Bible actually defines what sin is.
Right. Because we're talking about this on a Christian deconstruction page, but this actually actually works throughout every religion. Sin is simply whatever is against the rules of that particular God.
Okay. That's pretty much the 1 John 3:4 says that sin is the transgression of the law.
Mm-hmm.
So God has laws. Sin is breaking the law of God. Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with morality.
And you say it has nothing to do with morality.
Mm-mm.
In the sense of, like, you're saying that these laws that are supposedly God are also just subjective.
Very,
Very,
very subjective. Because we have some things that are sins against this God is not a sin against another God. And things that are sins against that God is not a sin against the Bible God. But then moral-wise, the morality of it all is that because people force their sins to be part of their moralities, then you will have a different morality in this group than you have in the other groups, which still makes it all subjective.
So do you think it's wrong to enforce moralities on people?
No.
It's not.
It's not wrong.
That was the right answer, because that wouldn't be very consistent with with morality being uh, objective.
Morality is the overall agreement that a group of people make. And so
Okay.
if the overall agreement is, for instance, in India, the overall agreement is that cows are sacred, so you don't kill the cow. So if you come from America and you're a Christian and you go over to India and you kill the cow, you've broken their generalized moral code that they've infused into their religion or vice versa, right? So you're in violation, right? But are you really in violation?
What are you in violation of? Is that what you're questioning?
Right. You're in violation. Now, in that instance, you're in violation of their moral code, but you're in violation of their moral code because they say that that is a sin. But if I go,
So what is the definition of moral?
but if, wait a minute, but if I go do the same thing in America and I slaughter a cow here in Texas, and honestly, the whole reason we're having this conversation is because I was on the beach yesterday and this Indian family was out there. They seemed to be Hindu. And I was wondering, how do Hindu people deal with the fact that we slaughter the shit out of some cows here in Texas? Like, how do they view that? Right. But if you come and slaughter some cows in Texas and you're not Hindu, then it's not immoral, nor is it a sin. Unless you're a Hindu in Texas, then it's immoral and it's a sin. But then being atheistic, slaughtering a cow for food is not a sin, nor is it immoral.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if morality is a thing, then I guess that would mean, like, if moral absolute is even a thing, that would have to mean that there is a transcendent being who instituted it, or something. It comes from a transcending place, because otherwise, what human would get to decide what the moral absolute is? So the word itself, like, in its definition, it would definitely demand that there is an absolute moral giver, you know.
No,
So
it doesn't mean that there has to be an absolute moral giver in order for there to be an absolute
so
morality. Now,
who or what would establish that?
There is no absolute. First of all, there's no absolute morality. Second,
But well, let me ask before you move on. Is that an absolute? Is that an absolute statement you're making right now?
that's a fact.
It's a fact.
Yes, it's just a fact.
It's an absolute fact.
It's a fact.
Okay.
I'm not going to do wordplay. It's a fact.
Okay.
It's a fact that there's no absolute morality. There's no absolute truth. And there doesn't have to be a giver of that, whatever the morality. Now, there is widely shared morality between different groups of people who may or may not have ever had contact with each other. So in most societies, stealing, those societies say it's wrong. In most societies, it's stealing, right? Amongst your own people, stealing is wrong. Let me be clear, amongst your own people, stealing is wrong. You don't have to have a supreme deity to be able to create that morality to be widespread. That will naturally engineer itself when you develop civilizations, because you cannot have the lawlessness of people just stealing whenever they want to. So most societies is going to develop a sense of, we don't steal from each other. And they'll go steal from somebody else, but we don't steal from each other. So it doesn't require a God for that. That just requires civilization.
And so this becomes then, like you were saying earlier, this then becomes a living, breathing, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I forgot what the word was that you used, but when you say living, breathing, I mean, I obviously you're speaking metaphorical, but you're saying that in a sense that this is a life that, I don't know. Does it not transcend? Does it Does it, because it lives, if it's alive in a sense, in what sense do you say it's alive?
It's only alive in the sense of a metaphor, the fact that
Yeah,
it
I
can
get that.
change, it changes, it adapts. It's
Okay,
not connected to anything outside of civilization, right?
so it is changing. So it's alive in the sense that it is subject to conform with people's with the society, with people. As people change, it will change also.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah. As society changes, it changes.
so then the society will determine how it it changes. People's behavior would determine the outcome.
Well, people's behavior, certain situations happen that can change society. War, conquest, oppression, natural disasters, all those things can change how people view their morality now. Uh, all kinds of things causes it to change. But eventually, all moralities consistently change. Now, some of them are less likely to change, but they change.
Yeah, history says that they definitely change, consistently change.
Yeah. But that doesn't make any of them transcendent. It just mean they changed.
No, I wouldn't say that the fact that they change according to our view would not make it. The idea is that if there are moral absolutes, you agree that there are, or did you agree that there were no moral absolutes, correct?
Yeah, there are no more absolutes.
So there are no moral absolutes. So every rule that we have, everything is subjective to our opinions ultimately,
Yeah, we've
or
seen.
opinions of the masses.
Yeah, and that's
Now,
what we
now
see through history.
to what extent, like like how far do we take this? Because this, I mean, if we're consistent, then we could really apply this to absolutely anything. We could apply this to murder. We could apply this to rape. We could apply this to anything, right? I mean, there's no limit to this if this is what it is, right? If there is no moral absolute, then there is no limit to the moral absoluteness or lack of, right? It's just completely.
Yeah. Okay. Let me give you an example. Would you say that essaying a woman is a moral absolute?
A what?
Would they say that in the Bible, let me be specific, in the Bible, that essaying a woman is an immoral absolute?
Essaying?
Raping a woman.
Essaying. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Is
I
that
wasn't familiar with. With that term.
is that a biblical moral absolute? Immoral absolute.
That would be a moral absolute. Yeah.
Sure about
Now, yeah. In the context of, yeah, I would say that would be.
So, what about when the God of the Bible tells you to go ahead and do it?
Yeah. I was wondering. That's exactly why I hesitated a bit, because I know I had a feeling that's what you were alluding to, and I don't know the story precisely, but from my understanding, God has the Israelites invade this one town, and you know, my take would be, if he literally told them to. I don't remember exactly. I think he said, take them as your wives, or take these other pagan women as your wives, or something like that. I don't know if that meant rape or what that meant exactly, but given that God could if he institutes morality, well, then he is just in uh doing in making any changes in it. And I wouldn't say that that's necessarily making a change, You know, I think he's still working within the realms of his morality. Like when he tells them to go and invade these towns, right, and kill everybody, these other villages, typically, like, if me and you decide, let's rally the people up and go invade this town, me and you are not justified to do that. But I would take it as like God has justified the Israelites in doing that. I take it in consideration that usually these other pagan tribes that they were invading, well, they themselves were like in all kinds of like, devil worship and sacrificing their own children, and they were a nuisance to all the people around them. Like it was really wild. Everybody, a lot of these other tribes are wild. Not saying that the Israelites weren't. I mean, they probably were, if not
Dude,
much
you
better.
are you have went from it's an immoral absolute to rape a woman to trying to justify the raping of a woman. I didn't
Well,
even
I'm not.
give you the opposition, but you just justified raping a woman, saying that because they were participating in these other religions, that is a justification to rape a woman.
No, well, I did say I wasn't sure how the verse went, but if that's what the case was, what you're alluding to, and I did mention that it says take them as your wife, not necessarily rape them.
How do
So
you
I'm not
think
really 100%,
if
but
a woman is a captive, you've captured her as a POW of war, is that woman giving consent?
I mean, I would say no, probably not.
Right. She's not giving consent. So when a woman
Yeah,
doesn't give consent, that is called
rape.
so. When your God gives those commands to take the young girls as your wives who have not known a man,
Right?
are they giving consent?
Is God giving them consent? The question is God giving them
Is
consent
the
to do that?
woman give first? Does the woman give consent?
Oh, there's the woman. I mean, from what I vaguely remember of the story, I I don't think it even mentions that. So I would say no. I would grant you no, probably not. At least some of them not.
No.
Maybe some did, but I would say there's definitely some that don't.
Come on, man.
Yeah,
Don't be that guy, Carlos.
I'm
You know
trying not to.
good and damn well if you have any sisters or daughters or anything.
Yeah, I have a daughter.
All right, you know good and damn well if your daughter watched some other group of people come in and kill you and then snatch them up, you think your daughter is going to ever give consent? You think she's giving consent?
Well, I mean,
Carlos,
my daughter definitely wouldn't, but I don't know that we could compare my daughter living in 2025 to the Israelites living in a day where they're themselves, like all these tribes, a lot of these people lived, they were a lot more primitive. They were a lot more savage.
that
Like this
has
was, we're
that
talking
has
about
nothing,
people that sacrificed their
Carlos,
own children on a regular
Carlos,
basis.
that has absolutely nothing to do with the time frame that people are living has absolutely nothing to do with it, because we are living still where you have different nations. They're different tribes, but the same as we have in different nations. So if China invaded America and a Chinese man murdered you and took your daughter, she's going to have the same emotional stance that somebody in the time frame of Joshua would have had. So that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Then
Well,
the second aspect of it is to try to justify, say that these people were evil and wicked and they were murdering babies and all this kind of stuff. The Israelites were murdering babies too.
right, and I made that point. If God is the one that's instituting, that He's the one commanding this, then He is just to do so.
He's just to
Nobody.
command this. How is that justice when he's commanding people to go and murder little baby boys, old men, women who have known a man, and all the fighting men? And the only reason that is ever given is the fact that One, they was on some land that this God is saying that, nah, that belonged to my people. And
I
the
would
second reason is that they worshiped a different God and not that.
I would say that he is just in the same sense that he was just to flood the entire world. To look at the world and be like, there's no getting through to these guys. They want to rape each other. They want to kill each other. They want to sell each other in trafficking rings. There's
Why,
nothing I can
why,
do for
why
them.
are you
I'm gonna flood the earth.
why are you adding all these issues that you have no proof of? Right?
I'm simply stating that
So a
God is
five-year-old,
just in doing so.
you
If
think
if
it's
they will not,
you think
the
it's
main thing
just
it comes down to is
you think it's justice that you think it's justice that if let's say you knew that a city was about to be you knew Las Vegas was about to be flooded and everybody was going to die and you're the God, right? You can either do this or you cannot do this. And you think it's just to flood Las Vegas even though you know that 32% of the population is under the age of 18. You know that there are 13-year-olds and 12-year-olds and 1-year-olds. You think it's just to kill all of those 5-year-olds because of what the 30 and 40 and 50-year-olds, some of them were doing. So you're going to murder all of them. You think that's justice? Or would you be held as a war criminal?
I don't see how God can be held as a war criminal. You
I
know,
mean,
it's his creation.
as a criminal.
And
You know,
and frankly, nobody loves his creation more than he does. It breaks his heart for him
yeah.
to look down and see a civilization of people that sell each other to sex trafficking. You know, they mutilate each other. It breaks his heart. But
Hold on.
like
That breaks his heart. But he gave the command to traffic people into sex slavery. He gave the command to mutilate your genitals. He gave the same command to the Israelites. But it's fine then, but it's injustice when other people do it based on their religion. You sound very hypocritical.
why? I'm not the one making the judgments.
But would you call that a just person who says that?
I would say in any occasion, the God that created his own creation is just in doing so, in making those decisions himself. And
Okay, so
ultimately, if you look at the big scope, ultimately it's really merciful. Flooding the earth was a merciful thing. The world was so deep in sin and they were so miserable, he literally put them out of their misery. It was, I mean, look at some parts of the world today. You know what I mean? They live like that. They live
so
a life of violence. They live a life of of just full blown
who
misery.
who
Who?
yeah, you
I don't know.
making
There's places,
this
perhaps
big
in the Middle East.
statement.
You've got some places in like South America and places like Mexico where the cartels have completely taken over and people just don't want anything to do with like government. They just want to live lawlessly.
You know who you sound like, right? Let me put you full face on here. You know who you sound like? You sound like this president that we currently have, who is claiming that all this violence is going on in Portland. Yet we see hundreds of videos of people in drum circles and at festivals and just riding along the streets in Portland, not having all this violence. You talk about people in Mexico and they living like this and like that. When you can go on TikTok and just put in Mexico City, and you'll see people going to bars, you'll see people having fun, they're partying, people going to work, people doing stupid ass dances, seeing their families. But yet
Yeah.
in your mind, you've created that, oh, Mexico, they got the cartels and all this is going on. We got gangs in
Well,
America.
I'm just giving you the worst case scenarios because look, when you say going to clubs and dancing and drinking, what you think is innocent fun, God might not see it that way. Perhaps he didn't put us on this earth to get high and have sex and just live, just live how we want to live.
No, you
You
just
know, that would be
you said it correctly. You're giving worst case scenario. You're taking the worst case scenario that's happening in a place and making that the overall thing that's
Well,
happening.
these places were. That was the case back then. Places like what's it called? Nineveh, right? They sacrificed. They literally sacrificed kids on a regular basis to,
No,
you
they
know.
didn't. No, they did not. That
That's
is
what the
Israel,
Bible.
that is
Huh?
Israelite propaganda. No, they did not. Do you realize that if a society sacrificed babies on a regular agenda, then the society's population will stalemate. People will flee that society and leave that society. You wouldn't be able to maintain a society that does that. This is why, perfect example, this is why the Aztecs, when they performed human sacrifice, even though the Spanish greatly enlarged the numbers, but because they did not sacrifice 200,000 people, but they didn't sacrifice, for the most part, they didn't sacrifice their own people. They went and captured other people and sacrificed them, because no society is going to survive killing their own people. That society will die. And
Without
if I took your mentality, you know who took your mentality? All my German friends when I lived in Germany, because all they knew about America was all the mass shootings and all that stuff that was happening in America. So when they was getting ready to come to the Olympics in 96, they was like, I don't know if I should go because America is so violent that everybody's being shot in America. Everybody's dying in America. There's people just, in their mind, it was the Wild West. Just pew pews everywhere. But was that true for 96 Olympics?
I mean, no, not entirely. But the point is this: without getting into the details of what the people are doing, the point is very simple. God, they are living. The world is living in a way that is contrary to God's law, because that's what sin is. It's the transgression of the law. Okay.
I would
So
give you
without
that
getting
the
into the
word.
details of how bad or how extreme it is, God is continuously trying to bring them back into harmony with His law, all
Was he?
throughout the Bible.
Was he? When did God send a missionary over to Jericho?
Well, that's what the
Before,
prophets do.
when
Time
did
and time again, he
when
sends
did
the prophets.
when
They
when
they
did a
start.
prophet go to Jericho before he
What?
destroyed them?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like specifically to Jericho.
When did he
Um,
go to? And you know I'm about to list a whole bunch of instances. So just yes or no. This is yes or no. Did a
did I
God?
know of? Is there a story where the prophet was sent there? I don't know.
No. Did he send one to AI?
I didn't think so. No.
No. Did he send one to any of the lands that were promised to the 12
Now,
tribes?
if it's
No,
not documented in the Bible, does that mean he didn't send it?
yeah,
Send that prophet?
yeah.
So
Because
because it doesn't say that there was one sent means that
when
there
did
wasn't one sent.
when did he send one to any of the people
I don't know
when he flooded
how
when
do
he
you
flooded
know
the world?
how do you know that within Jericho's own walls God didn't have a handful of people and they're trying to change each other's opinion, trying to bring clarity?
He
I
don't
don't
say
know.
it. He don't say it. What you don't want to admit is that your God only cared about the Israelites. He didn't give two shits about the rest of the world. He only cared about the Israelites because he
That's not
never
true.
sent, even
That's not
when
true.
even when
Israel
he
got it pretty bad too. Israel got it pretty bad too.
even when he but that he never genocided
He didn't
Israel.
really show any
He-
favoritism. When Israel messed up, they got it. And they got it time and time again. They got it pretty rough.
Tell me when the Israelites were genocided.
When they were completely genocided,
When were they completely genocided? When
I
did they
mean, they were
suffer?
about near, really
When,
close a lot of times. I mean,
when did they
Babylon,
when they didn't suffer a genocide?
70 AD.
They did. They didn't.
Um,
No, hold
oh
on.
no, like
When did they did not experience a genocide in Babylon?
no. I'm not saying that they did experience complete genocide.
When did they experience a genocide?
When you say genocide, like where they were killed off, all
Where
of them, every last one.
where the overwhelming majority of their people were killed. When did that happen in the Bible?
Um, who was the story with Jeremiah? When I think it
Assyrian
was a
captivity.
Babylonian.
Assyrian captivity.
Okay, so you're saying that they
Babylonian,
did.
Babylonian, Assyrian, and Babylon. So Jeremiah, Isaiah, and Ezekiel are Assyrian and Babylonian captivity and released by the Persians.
Yeah, And perhaps he did show them more grace. But the point is, right? The point is that God has the right to do with his creation as he pleases.
No, he doesn't.
You know?
Do you have the right to do with your daughter as you please?
According to you, yes, because morals are subjective.
No, according to me, you
Who
don't.
Who can tell me that I can't do what I want?
Don't try to do that, because
No, I'm just.
you live in America, right?
So if I took her to another country where it's allowed, is it cool?
Do you live in America?
So if I took her to an island
don't
with no laws,
ask me a question without answering my question. Do you live in America?
I do live in America.
In America, does our morality allow you to do whatever you want to your daughter?
Of course not.
Exactly.
So now, if I took her to an island, let me ask you this question though, just to be on the same page. If I took her to another island where, hey, everything goes, am I then allowed to do it?
You're allowed to do it there, but I would still see it as,
and I would be okay in doing it over there.
It wouldn't be okay with me. It wouldn't be okay with anybody else who follow American morality. It would be okay with those people who have a different morality. So it's still not okay with me. So like, if you wanted to marry your daughter off at 12, 13 years old, that's American morality, except for Mississippi, that's a problem. But if you
what makes it a problem?
Because it's against our moral code. But if you go to
our moral subjectiveness.
Yes, but if you go to another culture, another country where they allow for you to marry your child off at 12, then it's not against their moral code, and they're going to be fine with it.
Well, Lorenzo, what if next year they pass a law that says you can marry your daughter? Then what? Then it's no longer a moral code?
No, a law doesn't mean morality. Just because we have a law doesn't mean that we are in agreement on morality.
So what do you say? What?
Let me finish. Stop interrupting me. Do I need to put this back up? Do I need to keep this right here where it says don't interrupt me?
Oh yeah. It's not a bad idea.
All right.
Keep it up.
So just because a law is passed in a democratic society or even in a totalitarian society does not mean that the morality of the people change. That just means the law changed, which is why we have laws and then people protest the law. People try to get in office to change the law. People vote the law out. So just because we have a law that changes doesn't mean the morality changes, right? Because even though the law changed about Jim Crow, the morality of the people still didn't change. So even if they made a law today that said you can marry your daughter, my morality still will not change because that's nasty and incestuous.
Now, suppose the world where that law is passed, right? Or suppose you're in that country where there is no law against that, right? And generations have gone by, and this is what people have been doing repeatedly all around you, and you have nowhere to really ground the idea that this might be wrong or right.
Yeah. Now, and I was going to say that maybe 3, 4, 5 generations later, those people will not see it as something being immoral, even though their great grandfather thought that it was immoral. But now they don't think it's immoral because that shows how morality is subjective. Because now these people who have grown up in it don't see it as being immoral. And just like polygamy in a lot of cases, right? Most Americans see polygamy as immoral because they didn't grow up in it. But those Mormons who have grown up in it, it's not immoral to them. You go to Nigeria, it's not immoral. You go to Senegal, the Gambia, it's not immoral. That's a normal process of life for them. So morality's changed. Now, let's say you move to the Gambia and then you marry 3 women and then y'all have children. Those children will not see polygamy as being immoral because they grew up in the Gambia. So morality is subjective, and your God doesn't get to determine the morality of every person on the planet. And the fact that your Bible is written where your God does think that he can, shows the immorality of your God and that he can kill everybody. And then even how your God responds to people shows his immorality. And what I was actually going to was in where I was talking about, does your God approve essaying of a woman, which would be Deuteronomy 21, starting at verse 10, going through verse 14, where it says that when you go out to war against your enemies and the Lord your God, the Tetragrammaton, hands them over to you and you take them captive. Suppose you see among the captives a beautiful woman who you desire, lust, and want to marry. And so you bring her into your house. She shall shave her head, pare her nails, discard her captive's garb, and remain in your house a full month, mourning for her father and mother, because you killed them. After that, they may go into her and be her husband. Take the poom poom, and she shall be your wife. Right? So your God is basically saying, I don't give a damn. She's a captive. And because she's a captive, you can force her to have sex with you and make her your wife. That is, would you allow for that today?
Would I ever make a call like that? Absolutely not.
So you're more moral than
the idea is that God made that call. You know what I mean?
But you're okay with it.
If he made it, yes, 100%. I am okay with him having made that call.
So you're okay with rape?
Justified by God. If it is God commanded, right?
So yes or no, you are okay with rape?
Well, you see, the thing is that rape is unjustified out of God's command. Just not much different than when God asked Abraham to sacrifice his son, right? Typically, Abraham would be wrong to kill his son. He has no grounds. If he wanted to kill his son one day, he has no grounds to do that, right? But God asked him to kill Abraham.
We're not talking about Abraham. We ain't talking about Abraham. Deuteronomy 21.
Well, I'm making the point.
That's not the point. That's not the point. That is so far away from the point. You're not comparing. See, you're comparing one instance. In Deuteronomy, this is the laying down of a law. It's not specifically talking about any particular group to say that, oh, well, that only we was talking to the Ammonites. He wasn't talking about every time they go out and do it. No, in Deuteronomy 21, he's talking about every time they go and do it. So every time they go out and conquest somebody, they can take the girls and rape them. You're okay with that?
Yeah, if God commanded it. Yeah, I trust he knows what he's doing.
So you're okay with rape?
Under those circumstances only. And only those circumstances.
You're okay with POW rape?
I'm okay with only that circumstance, that particular circumstance of rape. What God literally asked. POW?
Yeah, prisoner of war. Rape.
Well, POW rape ordered by God himself. That's the important, because you say POW, you could be that can mean under anybody's order, but I'm specifically God's order.
Deuteronomy 21 is stating a law. There's a law for all times, right? Jesus said, obey the laws. The laws.
Who instituted the law?
The laws are to be the law. Don't interrupt. The law is supposed to be here until heaven and earth passes away. So this is the law given by Moses that Jesus said the Pharisees sit on the throne of Moses and and do what they teach you. So you're to follow this law. Deuteronomy is called Deuteronomy because it's the second law. Okay, so this is in perpetuity. So it's not specific to any time frame. So if you go to war, your country goes to war, and you see a young lady that you want to marry who's a prisoner from that war, it says a captive, which is a prisoner, right? If you desire her, you can force her to marry you, and marriage is done through taking the poom poom. So you're okay with that?
That's a misinterpretation of the law. See, the book,
How is that a misinterpretation? I just
because
read it.
that is no longer binding today.
How is
That was
that?
nailed to the cross. That portion of the law that you're referring to is in the book of the law, correct?
Did Jesus tell you to keep the law?
Right. He did tell you to keep the law. But which law was nailed to the
All,
cross? They were
keep
all
all
nailed to the
law.
cross.
No. Ain't no laws nailed to the cross.
So
He
are you
told you,
implying that we're supposed to be sacrificing animals still? Also?
yeah. Did Jesus tell you to keep the law?
Yes, he did.
And he didn't say, oh, just this one or just that one, right? He said you're supposed to keep the law, the law of
No, it
Moses.
does. Colossians 2 actually does tell you which laws are in effect today. They're not all in effect today.
Are we talking about Jesus? Ain't talking about Paul. Jesus.
I'm talking about Jesus.
Colossians is written as Paul. That's not Jesus.
I see what you're saying. You're saying that because Jesus didn't say those words, that doesn't apply?
No, that Paul, yes, and because Paul is in contradiction to Jesus. So are you following Paul or are you following Jesus?
I don't see any contradiction. I've never seen a better harmony between two people than Jesus and Paul.
Paul said you don't have, Paul said you don't have to keep the law. Jesus says you have to keep the law. That's not harmony.
Paul actually said we established the law also.
But
And so
Paul says you don't have to keep the law.
Paul also says we established the law.
So Paul contradicts his own self.
Well, if you're surface reading, yeah, you'll come to that conclusion.
That's not a surface reading. That's what it says.
That is what it says. But
So are you keeping? Are you following Jesus or are you following Paul?
You want to have one verse in isolation and another verse in isolation and say, here it is, a contradiction. Right? The Bible says precept upon precept, line upon line. We we study, we bring these verses into harmony. Now what Paul is saying,
you have to
we don't keep the law.
You have to renegotiate the doctrine in order to bring it into what you're calling harmony.
He makes it pretty clear. He makes it clear what it is that he means by the law that's no longer kept. He's talking about
where
in Colossians 2. In Colossians 2, right? He talks about, it says, let no having nailed to, starting at I think verse 14, right? And it says, having nailed to the cross the writing of ordinances that were a witness against us, right? This writing of ordinances is the book of the law, right? Having, if you look at if you want to understand like what a Christian that really understands the law, how he views it, because most Christians will tell you it's all been done away with and there is no law, but that's not the case either, because I am a commandment keeping Christian.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm gonna go there really quick so I don't misquote it. So Colossians 2:14, right? It says, blotting out the handwriting ordinances, right? And this is talking about the book of the law. And you can see in Deuteronomy 31:26 will affirm that these handwritten ordinances that were against us or contrary to us were nailed to the cross. Okay.
I'm reading this, and this is talking about how Jesus being nailed to the cross washes away your trespasses, your sins against this God. Not that you don't have to follow the law anymore, or that certain
I'm not saying that you don't have to follow the law,
or even that certain law is not to be followed. I mean, it goes into 16, said, therefore, do not let anyone condemn you in matters of food or drink, or observe festivals, new moons, or Sabbath. These are only a shadow of what is to come.
The substance is Christ.
Belongs to Christ. So the first part sounds like it's talking about your transgressions are erased by him being nailed to the cross. The second part in 16 is saying that if you don't follow the law, don't let anybody condemn you for it, right? Or anybody disqualify you for it. Because so this is Paul saying that you don't have to follow the law, right?
This
And
is
he's
Paul
only
telling you,
saying, and he only spoke of a few laws, a few things that he
right?
was pretty much just using as an example. He wasn't specifying exactly what laws you're to follow, what laws you're not to follow.
I want to give you the 7th-day interpretation of this portion right here.
But
Whenever you're done, I want to give you our interpretation.
but the fact of the matter is, Jesus told you to follow the law. He didn't say not to follow the law.
I agree.
Or only to this time frame.
I believe in his law.
And you said you want to give me the 7-day. You're SDA?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so this is how we, because I know that popular opinion, the Christian community does not agree with us on this.
I'm sorry. You're an SDA.
I am.
But what you want to support is Paul saying, do not let anyone condemn you for not following the Sabbath. But SDA is all about following the Sabbath from Friday night to Saturday night.
Let me give you my interpretation, and then you will see. It's quite easy, really. How the rest of the Christian community misses this is beyond me. But I'll start at 14 here. It says, blotting out the handwriting of ordinances, right, that were contrary to us, having took it out the way, nailing it to the cross, right? So the book of the law in Deuteronomy 31:26 actually tells us that these were handwritten ordinances, they were a witness against us, right? Having spoiled principalities and powers, made it show openly, triumphing over them, right? Let no man therefore judge you in meat, in drink, or in respect of a holiday, or the new moon, or of Sabbath days, right? Which are, here's a very important part. These things that are being nailed to the cross, number one, are in the book of the law, which we know are a witness against us, as it said in verse 14. Number two, they are a shadow of things to come, but the substance or the body is Christ. So these are things that point to Christ as a redeemer, right? If you go to Leviticus 23, in there, that's where all the feasts, the ceremonial feast and the ceremonial Sabbaths, right? Because there are many Sabbath festivals. There's a lot of Sabbaths. The Day of Atonement was a Sabbath. The Day of Unleavened Bread was a Sabbath. These are all different Sabbaths. This is not, we know that this is, see, the 7th-day Sabbath is written on tables of stone. God wrote the 10 Commandments, right? And put the 7th-day.
You're going in a circle, cut a straight line.
Okay. It's really simple. The law was given in 2 parts, right? God, with his own finger, writes the 10 Commandments, including the 4th commandment, Sabbath, on the tables of stone. That goes inside the Ark of the Covenant. That's what that means. The implication there is pretty obvious. It's permanent. It's eternal. That's never changing, right? The rest of the laws that were in the book is what this passage here is referring to, right? Now, what the things that are being nailed to the cross are in that book. It's not saying that the whole book, it's not saying we could eat pork now. It's not saying that we could, it's saying that the things that are nailed to the cross are inside of that book. And that is the way we understand Colossians 2 here in this portion here.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Yeah, I already knew that, but I just want to hear your version of it.
Oh, okay.
And,
well,
just as I sat in the SDA church and thought that was utter nonsense and bullshit, and just as I debated back and forth with your elders and some of your pastors, I thought it was bullshit, which is why some of your elders and your pastors still call me and would talk to me about some of this stuff, because they recognize that it was all bullshit, right?
What were you doing in the SDA church?
Yeah.
What were you doing in there?
I was married to a 7-day Adventist.
Good grace.
Yeah.
You don't say.
I would see the hypocrisy in how you pick and choose which laws you're going to obey and which laws you're not going to obey, right? And this whole idea, like, for instance, many Seventh-day Adventists will adhere to the dietary laws, and they will say we're supposed to adhere to these dietary laws, but yet the claim is the only laws we have to adhere to are the ones that are in the Ten Commandments, because they were sealed in the Ark of the Covenant. Even though that really doesn't mean a damn thing, but they would say because they were sealed in the Ark of the Covenant, so those are perpetual. But the rest of the laws, even though this guy says throughout the Old Testament that all the laws are perpetual, meaning never ending. So to suggest that the Jesus character being nailed on the cross is the ending of the perpetual laws of this God says that either the God of the Old Testament lied about them being perpetual, or Jesus
It's
is lying.
not an ending. It's a fulfillment.
Here's the thing. Jesus never says that you're supposed to not follow the law. It is Paul who is the liar to suggest that you don't have to follow the perpetual laws that the God of the Bible said that you are supposed to follow in perpetuity. You see how they don't harmonize.
You're not understanding that it was. If I'm the governor of the city and I say, for 1 month we're going to have a law where nobody can throw out, I don't know, any food, or nobody can throw out their trash for a month, right? If somebody throws out their, a month later, when I say, okay, we can throw our trash back out this month, I'm not abolishing the law. The law has come to a fulfillment. It served its purpose. That month is over.
What does the word perpetual mean?
Continual.
Okay.
Yeah.
The God of the Old Testament doesn't give a term limit on it. It is perpetual.
Okay. I mean,
it specifically is perpetual. So are you saying the God of the Old Testament lied and is not perpetual?
Not in the context that you're saying. I mean, something could be perpetual and come to and be fulfilled. Jesus said, "I don't come to abolish the law. I come to fulfill it. I come to bring it into its completion." The law fulfilled its purpose.
If you fulfill something, doesn't mean it comes to its completion. Do you work?
That doesn't. But that, I mean,
you work?
That's literally what Jesus said, though.
Do you work?
I do.
Do you fulfill your job every day that you go to work?
I mean, sometimes. I mean, I'm not really sure.
But you go to work, you do your job, right?
I think I get what you're saying.
You're fulfilling the obligation of being hired and working a job, right?
Okay.
So does that job end when you retire?
That's a great example. So I was recently working, assembling these devices, right? And I had a certain amount to do, right? And that was the amount that was given us to do, right? And whenever I finished them, the work ended. The work wasn't abolished. There's not another one to do? No, I don't work with this person anymore. That was it. That's all the work there was to do regarding this customer.
That's a project that has an ending already established. You use the example of trash. We're going to have trash in perpetuity for the most part, right?
Can we use Jesus as the example?
We're going to use the sacrifices. We're going to use trash. No, because you're using the example of Jesus incorrectly. We're going to have trash no matter forever, right? Humans, as long as humans exist, there's going to be trash, right? So if you retire from driving a trash truck, is the removal of trash ever going to stop, even when you retire?
No.
It's perpetual, right?
It is perpetual.
So when your God said that these are perpetual, then they're perpetual. Then they're lasting forever. When Jesus said that these laws will not end until heaven and earth pass away, he's reiterating that they are perpetual. Because has heaven and earth passed away?
No, it hasn't.
Then Jesus said you got to keep the law until heaven and earth pass away. If you say that Paul changes that, then either that makes Jesus and the God of the Old Testament a liar.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, my interpretation is obviously different. Like, here's a
But you're
perfect,
following Paul. You're following Paul. You're not
here's an
following
easy
Jesus.
example. I have an easy example of what this means, right? The Israelites sacrificed bulls and goats, right? They were told to do that perpetually. They were told to do that forever, right?
Mhm.
This was to be done continually, right? Now, the bulls and goats represented the final, represented Jesus as the ultimate sacrifice or fulfill.
No, it
Or
didn't. No.
well, this is how at least the Seventh Day Adventists would understand it, right?
Yeah, I know. And the Seventh Day Adventists understand it wrong. The only thing that can represent Jesus is the annual scapegoat, because all the sins were put on the scapegoat, and then the
You
scapegoat
believe it?
was wandering
You
out.
know who we believe the scapegoat is. I'm sure.
Yeah, you believe Jesus was a scapegoat.
No, I
So,
don't. I believe the devil is the scapegoat.
oh, I never heard that when I was at.
There's two goats. Remember that the scapegoat comes from two goats,
So how are
right?
you going to? Right, there's
Well, think
one
about
that
this.
you put your
One
sins
is the
on.
Lord, and
Mhm.
one is the scapegoat. Now, would it make sense that there's two scapegoats? One is the Lord, and the other one is the Lord too? Of
Mhm.
course not.
Well, here's the thing.
Nonsense.
Here's
Huh?
who do you? Jesus died for your sins, right? He took on your sins.
All right.
Which goat takes on your sins?
The Lord's goat. What happens to the scapegoat?
What is put on the scapegoat?
On the sins of Israel. And what happens? What happens after the sins are transferred onto his head? What do they do with that scapegoat?
They lead him into the woods and then
They
throw his
leave
ass
him
off. Throw his
to
ass off.
wander off in the wilderness. Do you know what this represents? This actually represents a later on event in the future. I mean, think about this. They cast lots. They cast lots. Number one, they cast lots for the scapegoat, right? They cast lots. What would be the point of both goats of casting lots if both goats are for the Lord? That makes no sense. Okay, it's like saying, okay, I'm gonna flip a coin. Heads you get $10. Tails you get $10. Like, what's the point of me flipping the coin? Like, here's $10. It makes no sense. Obviously, one is for the Lord and the other one, right? Scapegoat actually translates to Azazel, which means wilderness demon. It's the devil, my friend. You see, in the end, all of the sins of Israel, right? Because the devil is an accomplice, right? He is responsible for all the sin that's come on the world. He must bear his own sins and the sins that he has caused and brought onto this world. And then he will be left to wander in the wilderness for 1,000 years, right? With his sins, with his iniquity, right? And so what the scapegoat represents is Revelation 20, right? When Satan is cast into the bottomless pit for 1,000 years, that bottomless pit is represented by the wilderness in which the scapegoat is released into. And that, my friend, is the true interpretation of the scapegoat. Because they can't be both the Lord. That's nonsensical. And we know that the Lord was sacrificed. The scapegoat's not sacrificed. He's left to wander in the wilderness. Like Jesus wasn't left to wander in the wilderness with anyone's sins. That's the
Okay,
devil.
so I just went and read it again just to make sure.
Yeah.
The Jesus character is embodied in both goats. All right.
So why
The
cast lots?
one goat is killed and is slaughtered for the purification of the tent and for the people. The other goat has all the sins put on it and led off into the wilderness. The Jesus character is supposedly killed and his blood is for the purification of the people. And then he is also taking on the sins of the people. And he spent a little time in the wilderness, but also the so-called 3 days in hell or 3 days in Sheol. So Jesus, as I explained to the Seventh-day Adventists that I was dealing with, is a representation of both goats, not one goat and the other one is the devil. I ain't never heard nobody say that one out, but he's a representation of both goats, not one over the other.
But you see the
So
inconsistency with that? You just said that his soul right? When he died, you're saying that his soul went to Sheol?
That's what the book says.
That's
That
what people, no, that's how people interpret it. We just established a little while ago that when somebody dies, somebody dies.
We're going further and further away from, without finishing any subject matter, which is driving me crazy a little bit.
Okay, I'll let you read.
The fact of the matter is, Jesus told you to keep the law until heaven and earth pass away. Has heaven and earth passed away? God told you in the Old Testament to keep the law in perpetuity, which means forever, right? Jesus just told you heaven and earth pass away, as that's when it'll be over. Paul is telling you that you don't have to keep certain laws. So are you following Paul or are you following Jesus? Is that simple?
So are you saying that Jesus is commanding me that according to Jesus, I should still be sacrificing bulls and goats?
Is that part of the law established in the Old Testament?
Yeah, that was part of the law.
Did Jesus say you are to follow these laws till heaven and earth pass away?
Sure. Yeah, he said that.
So yes, if you're following Jesus and the God of the Old Testament, that's what you're supposed to be doing. But Paul tells you that you don't have to. So who are you following?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to take you around go around this, but
we're not going to go around again.
Yeah,
It's very simple. I think it's laid out pretty simple.
You're saying that I'm not following the law.
Said follow the law in perpetuity. Jesus said follow the law until heaven and earth pass away. Paul says you don't have to follow the law anymore. Are you following the law of the Old Testament?
Yes. In its proper understanding, in the understanding that the bulls and goats represented Jesus and that Jesus died on the cross and we no longer sacrifice them, yes, I am still keeping the law in that proper understanding.
In your personal religious understanding.
Perhaps that's subjective as well.
I would say, and this is why, to go back to the main freaking subject, this is why all that bullshit is subjective, that there is no absolute truth to the Bible. There's no absolute morality. There's no absolute sin, because someone who's following Jesus would say that for you to not follow all the laws, you are committing a sin. But also, to go back, this also allows you to say what you said earlier, which is still boggling my mind, that in a POW captive situation, it is okay for those soldiers to essay the captive women.
Yeah, you're missing out the most important part of that was that if they were commanded by God, which in the case of the Israelites, they were
by God to do what? Take those women?
To do whatever God commanded them to do. To take the women,
Deuteronomy 21 says you to do. That's what you do. When you captive a woman, and it doesn't say that if this God tells you, if you just see a woman who is beautiful and you desire her and want her for your wife. So this God is giving you and I know y'all like to say the free will. He's giving you the free will to say, she fine as hell. I want her poom poom. Then go take her because she's a captive. So he's giving you the permission that if you desire that woman,
he's not giving me that permission. He gave the Israelites that permission.
All right. Is this your God?
That's obviously not binding anymore, though.
Is this your God? No, it's not. It is binding.
I mean, it's not, because if it is,
you know why? Now,
Jesus would be a breaker of his own law.
I'm gonna tell you the secret, and then I'm getting the hell off here. You know why? You know why it's not, you say it's not binding to you?
Why?
Because your morality says that is immoral to take a prisoner of war woman and force her to be your wife. So it is not about your God's morality. It is not about your God's law. It is simply about the fact that you have been born in this time frame. You've grown up in America. And in our American morality, The overwhelming majority of us, because some people ignore it, of course, but in our overwhelming morality, it is immoral to force a woman to have sex and become your wife if she does not give consent. So in truth, if you did a deep dive into your psyche, you will have to admit it is your modern day morality that says no in America. It has nothing to do with your Bible. You're trying to renegotiate the Bible to fit into that.
I would say that modern day
somebody did long before you came along.
I mean, I would say that modern day is in agreement with that morality. But
no, modern day
for the most
morality
part,
is in disagreement with the morality of Deuteronomy 21. We haven't Western culture hasn't allowed that type of mentality since like the 1800s, that you can go take a captive and force them to be your wife.
I
You
don't
can
know.
go
I don't
prior to that
understand.
and you can find it.
As well as you know the Bible and you know Jesus' own words and things that he said, and he preached. I don't see how you don't understand that Jesus came to fulfill.
Because I know what fulfill mean and y'all don't.
Like
Y'all,
Jesus,
because
Jesus
what I'm
was supposed to
unwilling to
kill.
do, what I'm unwilling to do is renegotiate the text to fit a narrative that I like. See, that's how I deconstruct it. I stopped saying that I have to have this landing point where Jesus is good, God is good, and everything works itself out. I stopped doing that so that if I see that there is a problem, I just recognize the problem and accept the problem for what it is.
So
And
what are you saying? God is bad.
We're going through it. Excuse me?
God is bad and God is wrong? Is that
God is terrible. The God of the Bible is horrible. Has horrible morals.
But not real.
That is not real, but he has horrible morals that people have made that into their morality. This God is terrible. If any person were to suggest half the things that this Bible suggests, they would be imprisoned. So yes, this God's morality is terrible, which is one of the reasons why human morality over the history of this Bible has been terrible. Your mentality really is a renegotiated secularism, because you know that we won't live like that today, but you got to make the Bible fit that narrative so that you can have both of them. But they truly both don't mix.
We know that we won't live that way again? What way is that?
You know that right now we don't live in the ways of the Old Testament Bible. In the description that what we're talking about, in the subject matter we're talking about, American morality does not allow for you to go and take captive women as your wives, right? So our morality says no to that. So your God said you do, though. You can if you want to. And Jesus said you're supposed to keep these laws. So you renegotiate Paul's statements of going against what Jesus and the God of the Bible say, so that you can justify it by trying to make them have unity by saying Jesus fulfilled the law, but he said that you're to keep it until heaven and earth pass away. You can't get away from that. See, you can say fulfill, but fulfill doesn't mean abolish.
I mean, if that was the case, wouldn't Jesus have stoned that woman, the adulterous woman? I mean, by his own
that
law.
was made up and added to the Bible and is not found in any of the older texts. That story.
You're saying that it wasn't a law.
That story was not even part of the Bible. That was an added story. It's a made-up story that was added into the Bible somewhere probably around the fourth.
Oh, you're saying that's a forgery?
Oh, it's definitely a forgery. Because when you look at the oldest texts of Mark and John and all them, that story's not in there. It was a later made-up story that was added to it. So that's not a good thing to stand on.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, do the research on that story and you'll find that in the oldest versions, that story's not there.
So, I mean, there was other examples where Jesus would have been supposed to condemn somebody or.
Where? When? I mean, when he called that Canaanite woman a dog and he condemned her, and then after she made the case that, yes, I am a dog, Then he was like, well, since you're a dog, I go ahead and heal your daughter. When was Jesus supposed to condemn somebody and he didn't do it? Because it ain't in there.
Aside from that woman?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question.
He condemned the Samaritan woman. He told that Samaritan woman, the man you fucking now is not your damn husband.
Here's the biggest one of all. Jesus himself didn't make any sacrifices. He didn't sacrifice one animal. He did?
Yes, he did. In the Luke version of the story, Jesus and his family went and participated in Passover every year. And if you participating in Passover, you sacrificed some animals.
So that lamb that they ate.
Jesus was a practicing Jew. Yes. He sacrificed some animals. He poured some libations. He poured some wheat.
Well, shouldn't he have well, I guess he would still be Old Testament up until the point that he dies. So the question would be, did he do that after he died? But all the same,
he dead, so how can he practice anything? He can't practice something when you're dead. He ain't walking around. He ain't practicing nothing. So you can't say that, oh, he stopped practicing that after he died. Yeah, he did. My dad died. My dad is not running his company no more.
Well, given that he rose. I mean,
that don't mean nothing. How long did he hang around and keep practicing? Was he still walking around for about 5-10 years?
I mean, what was it, 40, 50 days or something like that?
Yeah. According to the story, he was walking around for about 40, 50 days, and he was just talking. There ain't enough time to practice nothing. But he said, till heaven and earth pass away. That is not an abolishment. Are you?
I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, you're seeing it as that to abolish is for the law to come to an end. I mean, the law served its time. It evolved into the old covenant was fulfilled. Like it was over. The sacrifices were not meant to be forever. I mean, obviously.
Okay.
But
I mean, your God, that's fine. Your God lied about being perpetual. So, and perpetual means forever. So God of the Old Testament lied.
But the God's not real.
No, he's not. But your God.
That's subjective anyway.
I said your God. Your God lied. Perpetual, nah. He was just lying.
But let me ask you this, Lorenzo. Okay. This is my. If it is the case, what's the point about it all? Like, it's all subjective. If there is no moral giver, if there is no God, what is the point of any of it? Like, what do we gain? What is the purpose, right? Where is there purpose in anything that we do? Like, what's the point of any of it? Because as you said, it's all subjective. Meaning is subjective. Purpose is subjective.
Mm-hmm. Purpose is subjective.
So what is this? Are we just killing time? Are we just
we're
watching the time fly by till we die?
No, that's pretty sad if you're doing that, in my perspective, because.
So what is the purpose here?
The purpose is to live life. The purpose is to enjoy life, and you create your own purpose. Like many people, lives suck because they never created their own purpose. Part of and the thing about it, you have multiple purposes. You should. I have the purpose of being a father to daughters and to a son. And that purpose fills me greatly. I have the purpose of building businesses and seeing them thrive. I mean, for me to build a business and somebody actually buys whatever the service is or the product, that fills me with so much joy that I created something that other people are actually willing to spend their hard-earned money for. That makes me feel great about life. Going to the beach and just watching the water. Me and my wife are both water babies. We will go to find any body of water we can find. Just observing water, observing nature gives me purpose. Like I create my own purpose. If my purpose has to hang on the balance of me going to a heaven or hell or serving some God, that's enslavement to me, right? So when I see people who don't create their own purpose and allow a super ego of society to create their purpose based on a religion, I feel sad for them, because you are restricting so much bounty that you can have from enjoying life because of that.
Yeah.
You're a 7-day Adventist. I don't know how long you've been one, but I've seen guys who love football, love football, and would have went D1 easy, would have maybe had a great chance to go pro, but he couldn't. You know why? Because we play football on Friday night. And so he couldn't play. And when I tell you this boy loved football, he was one of those that go to sleep with a football in his bed since he was a kid. That boy loves some football. So he knew what motivated him, what gave him life. But because of a religion, he couldn't do it. Right? I've seen a dude who was in love with a woman, knew her as a friend, in love with this woman. I mean, they couldn't get over not being in love with her. But he was Jehovah's Witness, and she wasn't. She was a Baptist. But he had to break up with her because his family was going to ostracize him. So he lost the opportunity to possibly be with a woman that would give him so much joy. And when I tell you these two jokers were in sync with each other, like it was disgustingly in sync with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't blame God for that. I would probably blame.
Purpose should be self-generated.
Well, here's the thing, and that's ironic that you say that, because I'm looking at a world that has generated its own purpose and meaning, and to be frank, it's a pretty gloomy place. And
say that again. I was reading a comment. Sorry.
I said that I think that's a little ironic, because I'm looking at a world that has generated its own meanings and purposes. You know, at least attempted to, anyways, because I don't think that you really can give any true. We can't give ourselves any true purpose or meaning. That has to be given to us. But I am looking at a world that has generated its own purpose and its own meaning, and it's pretty bleak. Doesn't look very good for the most part.
Yeah.
You know,
that's because you're white. That's because you're white.
Because I'm white.
I'm gonna be straight with you on that one. No purple, you're white.
Yeah.
And that's why you think that. But see, as a black man, this world is freaking amazing.
I know some black folks that would agree with me.
And they are delusional and stupid as fuck. Because if you took that same black person and you put them in the 1950s, I guarantee they would want to hop their asses right back in 2025.
You need to understand, I'm not talking about an isolated case here, I'm taking a step back.
Bro,
I'm taking a step back and looking at the world in its totality.
My guy.
In its totality. I'm looking at the big picture.
You're white. You can't see the big picture.
Fair enough. But
stop. In the 1950s and earlier, Black people were oppressed in the Americas, meaning all this shit over here on the Western Hemisphere. Black people were oppressed in Africa, the place of their ancestors. All of Africa. Ethiopia was the only free nation, but all of Africa, Black people were oppressed. Largest continent in the world. Black people were oppressed in Europe. All of Europe, Black people were oppressed. Black people were oppressed in Asia, all of Asia, all of them. Australia, oppressed, all of them. Black people were oppressed in every corner of the planet. For the most part, maybe little isolated places where they weren't, but oppressed. So the whole fucking world was against.
I mean, that proves my point. I mean, that's people generating their own purpose. That's what you get. You get slavery. You get this type of environment.
Compared to today, we don't even have half the level of oppression. Not even half the level of oppression that was going on. And I'm just talking about 100 years ago. If the further back we go, we can keep going back and the oppression is worse. I mean, if we keep going back, all of a sudden it's not just Black people. but it's your Spanish family too. It's your
Yeah, I was gonna
Irish
say it's
family and
not
your
just black
Scottish
people.
family as well. It's the Mongols as well.
There's
It becomes even more oppressive. So the further we go back, the more oppressive the world was, and the more people were oppressed. So 2025 is hella better than any other time in known history. Well, I ain't gonna say any other time in known history. Is better than any other time prior to I'm gonna say around the 1400s, because before the 1400s, no, I got to go a little further, but around about the 1300s. Before the 1300s, all that bullshit that we know in history was only happening in the Mediterranean, was only happening in Europe and a little bit of the Middle East and North Africa. The West of Africa was governing themselves. The Americas were governing themselves. The Asiatic people were governing themselves. It wasn't until that colonization shit started, and we have from colonization till roughly about 60 years ago, that all the bullshit was going on. So the world today is better, and the world prior to colonization would have been better. So you looking out saying it being bleak is a modern day
okay.
white
So
man.
I'll rephrase it. It's been bleak in it. It's been bleak always, with the exception of some little pockets in time that haven't been so bad. But let's be realistic. I mean, look, from the big picture now, not looking at little isolated cases or just one ethnicity, looking at the globe in its totality, it's a sad place overall. I mean,
No, it's
there's
not.
hope. There's hope. There is. I'm not saying that there's no joy and there's no hope, but it is a bleak place.
Because
All
you're
right.
white. Because
Whatever the case may be, whatever the case may be, right?
white people
It
have
is,
been losing
it is
power. So it's because you're white.
tragic. I mean, could be looking up today, like you're saying, everything's going great and fine and dandy and life is awesome. But you know that can change like this.
Yeah, it
All that
can.
can be taken away from us in an instant.
But your statement is right now, and right now the world is in a better place than it had been for what 800 years. There
I
was
don't think it's that much better of a state. I think human beings have been human beings from the very beginning.
Are you serious? Do you know the amount of
I
slavery
do.
that was going on since
I understand that. I understand that.
do
But
you,
I'm saying the heart,
no,
the core
no
of a human
woman.
being.
Here's the thing. No woman, which makes up half the population at any given time, women make up at least half the population, if not more.
But
If a woman says that things were better at any time in the past, she crazy as hell. She done lost her goddamn mind because she
I
would
don't
never
mean that
stop.
circumstantially, yes, circumstances have gotten better, but the heart of the man, what drives mankind to do, the selfishness, all of that, the greed, selfishness, that has never changed. That has always been the same. Yes, it fluctuates in its circumstances, and sometimes it goes through its stages, but all the same. The nature of man has
No,
been
sir.
consistent throughout history.
No, sir. Because you also had countries, you had times without interference with other people where communities worked together, lived together, and there was more love. And I'm going to say this, and this is a real thing. Throughout history, throughout time, the overwhelming majority of people, period, have just been trying to live their life and have fun and be happy. That's it. The majority of people. Now, we got power structures that force people to do things, but the overwhelming majority of people are good. They're decent people. And that's been through the majority of time where there's a level of decency about people. Now, yeah, they had societal norms like slavery and treating women like trash. But even in those societies, they still had rules for those types of things, of how badly you can treat somebody, or what type of shit was the property level of a woman. But even when those women were in property levels, they found happiness in the fact that, okay, I'm getting married. I know I got to marry this dude. I really don't know this dude, but we've been doing this family dance for these many years, so now I got to marry him. And they still try to find happiness in the life that they're given. So people generally try to find happiness, not find this evil shit and
No,
live
I
in.
agree. I agree. People
So in
generally
most
look for it.
places, that's why most places that you go in the world, you find people being happy, not people hiding and scared and fearful. Even children during times of war will find the time to play. Even in times of war, grown people still find things to laugh at, things to find some joy in. I know, I've been there, where even in the face of bullshit, that you still laugh and joke and find something to be happy about. So people are more designed to be happy than they are to be miserable and greedy and selfish and all that kind of bullshit. You just, but you look at and you're trying to find it. This is why I am overly optimistic. I am like 90% optimistic, 10% pessimistic. Which even when I go people watching,
Some people call it
most
faith.
people when they go people watching, they looking for the negative shit that's going on around them. I'm looking at the positive shit. And even when I see something that may be negative, I'll try to find something positive about it. But that religious bullshit is one of the mechanisms that got people all caught up into the negative. Because everything is about gotta watch out for sin, gotta watch out for sin. And I gotta go against my own good sense of morality and go with this bullshit of this Bible's morality, of this God that is more wicked than what we are today. But I gotta get off here, man. I'm hungry, and I generally like you, but I'm starting to get hungry. And if I keep talking to you, I'm gonna cuss you out.
No, let's not go there.
Because I
It's
am,
always a pleasure.
I am a little pissed off that you think that it was okay to rape women. That, I'm gonna be honest with you. Let's say this was the measurement of my respect for you. I ain't gonna lie. It went down a lot.
That's understandable from your perspective.
Well, that would be from anybody's perspective. But
From your subjective perspective, nonetheless.
But the only thing I take solace in is that there's a part of me that says, and like I'm always optimistic, there's a part of me that says that if you were in the face of that situation, you wouldn't do it. And that's the only way I keep some level of respect, is because I don't think you would do that. Like if you went to war, if we went to war with China right now, and you saw some Chinese POW girl that you thought was sexy as hell, I don't think you would rape her. And I hope
I would like to think I wouldn't.
I hope
and
that,
again,
it's the only reason I keep this much. But the fact that you think it's okay, it went from here to here. And if you say that you would do it, but I gotta get off here. Appreciate you being on here.
it's always a pleasure.
All right, thanks, Carlos. Oh shit. Okay, there we go. We are still meeting in San Antonio, October 31st through November 2nd. This is the agenda. I would love for you guys to still be here. You still got time to call the hotel. You have to call the hotel now. You can find a description on the live on YouTube. In the description on the live in YouTube, you can find the hotel. So click on the link. Don't click on the link. Sorry, my brain is muddled now. Now I'm hungry. Don't click on the link. But this is our agenda. I'm too hungry to go over it. As they say in the church back in the day, when you got the little pamphlet, read the program and act accordingly. I probably cut that piece of that video and republish it. I can't believe he would say that rape is okay. If you can't tell, that bothers my soul, as they say. That bothers my soul. But I look forward to us meeting here in San Antonio, October 31st through November 2nd. Me and Carlos and I had a bunch of conversations, but that one threw me off. So y'all have a great day, and we will. So we go live Monday through Friday. starting at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. So I look forward to tomorrow's conversation, and as well as go and click on the link and buy a shirt in the description of this video or pretty much any other live. ShineUniverse.net. Get a shirt. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 12 noon. Y'all have a great day, and watch the other videos I'm going to produce right after this. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations, and I'm out. Because I'm hungry and I gotta go. I need some food.